7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
He has a lot of problems.
Struggle to be top 5 in points at the end of the season.
Wow.
You bleach your hair, you're a sellout.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Moto Aftermath Show. This is episode number 310. Want to welcome y'all in. My name is Travis. I am your host for the show. We are going to wrap up the Highpoint National here. Now, this show is going to be a little bit different. I am very busy, and I don't always get everything done that I need to do. For example, schedule co-hosts. So this week, what we're doing is a little different show. We're going to do a call-in show. We're going to have Daniel Blair and Coach Robb on here. We're going to have Daniel Blair first, Coach Robb second, and we're going to discuss some different stuff with the racing with them here and kind of just work the show that way. We may have Eric Grondal at the end. Kind of depends if times line up here because Eric had some dinner plans, so we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it, but we're going to give it our best shot. So with that being said, before we jump into everything here, just want to take a minute to thank our sponsors. So first off, we're going to thank Rev X Products and their Max Power Oil Additive. I put this in all of my four-stroke, single-cylinder dirt bikes, motorcycles, whatever, because it absolutely is amazing. It will lower the temps of your bikes slightly. It will help reduce wear, reduce friction, and overall make the bike run better. So again, make sure to do that. We are getting all of our bikes ready here. I'm running a little behind because I'm busy, but it is June. It is riding season, so all the bikes are getting that put in it. Also on board with us here, we've got Gutter Worx, we've got Complete Racing Solutions, we have Holster Co., we have Flo Racing, we have TLR Coatings, we have NANO XTREME, we have Adept Creative Co., we've got Alias MX, so make sure to check them all out. There's going to be links in the description down below. Like I said, the show's going to run a bit differently than normal. Usually Gutter Worx would bring you the 450 race recap, Flo Racing would bring you our 250 race recap, Complete Racing Solutions would be our halftime report. Holster Co. would be our rant, which will probably rant about something, so look out for that. We'd have a Nano Extreme Painful Take. We'll see if anybody gives me a painful take here. We'll find out. And then we would have a Rev X segment, which will have a couple coming up here because Cole will be in studio with us here on a couple races. Actually, for Millville and Washougal, Cole will be here, so that'll be cool. And then the TLR Coating Tinfoil Hat, a.k.a. Silly Season Talk, which I'm sure we will get into here. So with that being said, if you do want to watch the show get recorded live, you can join our members area for as little as 99 cents per month, which gets you the live recordings of the show. If you join our B-Class Bench Racer section, that is going to get you lined up with our Thirsty Thursday live stream, which is 30 to 40 minutes of me just sitting there talking to you guys through the chat and answering questions or talking about whatever. Could be life, could be moto, could be anything. So with that all being said, we are going to jump in here with Daniel Blair and get things absolutely rocking and rolling. So I want to thank you all for tuning in and enjoy the show. All right, everybody, welcome in here, show 310. Like I said, without any further ado, on the phone with me for the first time on the show, the legend, a fan favorite, and now Club MX manager, I guess is what we're calling it. I don't know your direct title. I should have asked that before we got started. It's the one and only Daniel Blair. DB, what's up? Thanks for joining us, man.
What's up, bro? It's I guess it's time to return the favor. You've been on my show a couple times, so thanks for having me on, dude.
Well, we like to throw a wide net, and you have now jumped in a small pond here with the pipsqueaks. So, what is your official title there at Club MX? Because, like I said, I guess I should have asked that before we started recording here.
Well, it's general manager actually, and it's unique though because I'm not really the type to go in and be like, I'm the manager now. Like that's just not how I do things. So essentially, I'm involved in every single piece of what's going on the property now, but I don't do it in a way of where it's like, all right, I'm in control. I do it more in a way of, okay, you crush all this. How can I help you? Here's a few ideas I have. Let me help with that. And I've done that across the board. And if you actually were to shadow me for the day, I'd say most of the responsibilities I'm doing are directly related to Brandon because Brandon is the owner. That was pretty much his role before I got there. Was he's just oversees everything, but at the same time as he has the capabilities of doing it, he's got some passions on property that he wants to put more focus on, I guess you would say. So he wanted me to be able to kind of offload some of that stress and some of those pressures. So I work with everybody, but I'd say mostly, I guess you would say like a chief of staff for Brandon.
Okay.
I think that's the easiest way to put it. And that's race team, that's facility, media side, everything. And then he gave me the green light, like bring me the ideas, bring me your solutions, help where you can. And it's been honestly 2 of the coolest months of my life.
So you're like the expert firefighter on staff. Somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, we've got this problem," and instead of it going all the way to Brandon, it goes to you, and anything you can't solve, then you take to Brandon.
That is pretty much it.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, like, and there's been some situations where he's involved and he has to be, and then there's some where he says, "Hey, I brought you on to handle that, so that's yours. Do what you want with it." So it's been really cool, man. It's a perfect. I guess you would say a perfect bridge between him and everybody on staff and all the riders, and it's been awesome because I love everybody there, man. There is no dead weight on that property. I'll tell you that. Everyone there is super motivated. Everyone's super passionate. Everyone's got great ideas. I mean, I've learned a lot, and but then, as I get a little bit more acclimated, I bring some more ideas, and the relationships are all growing. And yeah, it's been super cool so far.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that that's working out for you. That is, dude, it's a super cool thing. And it actually to me sounds like that he is a fantastic owner operator, because most people as owners wouldn't be able to put that kind of responsibility in somebody's hands and just let you run with it. I know I struggle with that myself as a business owner. I'm sure you've probably had your struggles with it as a business owner in the past too, of like, oh, I got to put this in the hands of somebody else, otherwise I can't grow. So that's awesome to see and hear that that's actually happening. So super cool.
Yeah, it has been great. He's been awesome. And I can tell you one thing though. I mean, there's a high standard with him. He operates at 100. That guy, I'm telling you, at like 6:30 in the morning, he's either out mowing or running, or I mean, he is all in all the time, and it's actually caused me to level up. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty all in as a person. But being around him is just like the standard is always just 100, and it's actually made me more productive. I feel like I've actually gotten better. I've actually had to change my diet just for energy reasons. I'm intermittent fasting now to just get a little boost in energy because, dude, my responsibilities start early and they end late, and I get tired at the end of the day. So it's like I had to find a way to step up. Thought my diet was a little out of whack. So, yeah, no, it's inspiring, and it's hard. It's difficult. I go to bed super tired. My brain mostly every night. I'm like, damn. But it's awesome because it's fulfilling stuff. Like, dude, running a facility and a race team, like, what a dream, and to be a part of one that's just accelerating in so many areas. It's like, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to just be like, well, it's too gnarly? Like, no, dude, level up. So it's been cool.
You gotta have you perfected the art of like the 15 to 30 minute power nap in the afternoon, because that I've found is a killer thing to perfect.
I actually have
Yes.
Not every day, because sometimes there's not a window, but sometimes like if I've got to go back to my room, which I actually stay with Mike B in his loft. He's got a really nice little loft for me that I stay in. It's got kind of an office setting, a bathroom, a bed. It's super cool. It's like a little studio apartment for me up there.
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while I get back there and I've got like, I got until 4:00 and I got this meeting I got to do, but it's 3:15. I'm like, let me just lay back in my head. Okay. And I'll knock out, I'll set an alarm and literally I'll say 20 minutes. And if I pull it off, good. And if I don't fall asleep by then, well, then I missed it. And I've done it a few times. And then, dude, the problem with that though is then I'm up later at night, which is like, damn it, I kind of need to get to bed by like 9:30, and then sometimes I'm up at like 11. Like, what happened? It's like, oh, that damn power nap.
Oh, really?
So,
see, mine doesn't hurt that bad. So like, I'm very prime at setting, if I, like you said, if I can get it in the afternoon, which I do frequently, a 35-minute timer, right? Because it takes a few minutes to get to sleep, whatever. But there's a lot of days anymore that it's like I will nod off at that. I will all of a sudden spring back awake. I'm good to go. I look and it's been like 15, 17 minutes and I'm like, all right, sweet. Doesn't affect my sleeping at night. That I don't have that issue. I'm running the ragged edge all the time. So for me, I'm lucky. It doesn't affect that. But But yeah, but it is very prime, and it's cool to hear that more people are starting to figure out these little 15-minute power naps are the way.
Hey, intermittent fasting helped me though. When I did that, I got a bump big time, and you just got to have a little bit of salt water around 9 o'clock in the morning, about an hour before you get the food. But it works, dude. I feel like I got a little bounce in my step later in the day, but it's been cool, man. It's gotten hot the last week or so, and that makes the training and coaching part a little bit tougher because I do a lot of that too, which that was my request. I was coaching in Supercross, and when we went to motocross, they're the busiest they've ever been right now. We've had a massive uptick in people signing up for Loretta's, mostly like in that 250B class. A bunch of kids that I know that I've worked with before have showed up. So I've kind of overloaded some of the coaches.
Okay.
And I was like, well, give me Monday, Tuesday then, because early in the week is when it's its most difficult. So Monday, Tuesday with the heat has gotten a little bit on the tough side. Those are my toughest days. But, yeah, the intermittent fasting definitely has played a role in I'd say the improvements the last week.
Hell yeah. That's yeah, man, that's awesome. That's good to hear. Okay, let's talk some racing here. I could talk business and Club MX and all that kind of stuff with you forever, but I don't have you forever. So let's talk some racing here. Let's talk 450s here. So, all right, you want to talk, I'll give you dealer's choice. Prado, Jet, or Tomac. Which one you want to start with?
Let's get the Prado one over with. That's a tough one, man. I mean, if we're being honest, where do you want to go with that one, though?
All right.
I feel like that one could go a few directions itself. Where do you want to go?
Is he at club training right now?
Not yet. When does this come out?
Tuesday. Right now we're live with the members, so they're hearing it currently on Sunday. But Tuesday it will go up for everybody.
All right. Well, he gets in tonight.
Okay.
So, yeah, he came for a week just to try it out, like a little test run, and did some testing and loved it. And now he will be here until, I believe, Washougal.
Okay.
So he gets in Sunday night, and then, yeah, so Monday, by the time this comes out for all the regular listeners, he'll be on day 2. And I can text you and let you know, and then you could give an update to everybody. But when he came out the first time, it was just to feel the place out. He had Cowie there. They were testing late into the day every day, trying a bunch of things, but it was his first shot out of Southern California. So I don't know where you're going to go with the question unless you're going to ask what he looks like during the week, because I don't know that yet.
That was where I was going to go, because I thought I'd heard that he was already there, but I guess he's not. So we can't go with that. I mean, but this is so you're, and I've listened to some of your other stuff, but sorry I don't remember every detail. Are you full blown panic button at this point with him? Because this is terrible in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it is. It's bad. But at the same time, I'm not panic button, because I went in with the idea that there was no button needed because it's year one. And in reality, if you look at the way he's built and the way he's wired, the way he's been successful, it ain't from just sending it into situations and pulling it off. He's very calculated. He does things exact. And there was a method in Europe, which was pull the start, sprint, and then use the track and be very smart with his energy and be able to kind of I wouldn't say outsmart, because it's not like the other guys over there aren't smart, but when it comes to Geyser and Hurlings, like those dudes they're gnarly. They've had some big crashes, and Jorge's had a lot of success by not being that way. So I knew right off the bat that he was in for a new reality when he got here. Then he was hurt, and he switched into a new bike, a bike with a aluminum frame that he's never ridden before. And he's riding these new tracks and a new format. To me, there was like 100 things that were new all at once. So I kind of went into it with the way that I would have approached it if I was him, which is I have a 3-year deal. Year 1 is going to be a lot of learning. And then year 2, I'm going to take a step. And then year 3, I'm ready to go out and try to win this thing. And unfortunately, he got hurt in Supercross, which took all that learning the motorcycle, learning the team, just kind of, every little piece of American racing was thrown out the window real early. This is back in January, I believe. So for him, he has literally had nothing. I mean, he's essentially starting now. And is it going as good as it should? No, it's honestly, it's worse than I thought it would be. But I kind of washed this whole year off. So that was my thought going in. And since I'm going in that way, I'm not really that shocked. And since I'm not shocked, I can't press the button. So now if we come back around next year, it looks like this, then it's not even a pressing of the button. I mean, it's time to I mean, I don't know. It's 10 times worse than that. But I'm going to wash this whole year off. It's just go learn the system, learn your bike, and then be better next year for sure.
I mean, my thing was so like I came in with real low expectations and almost some would even say some disrespectful takes on it, because I came in saying like, look, he's gonna be probably a 6 to 8 guy for the better part of this season here, as far as outdoors went. And I'm like, now towards the end, could we see a podium? Could we see him battling up front a little bit? Sure. But man, I gotta say, like 4 rounds in here, and the only spark I've seen was like the start he yanked, and I think it was the first moto yesterday. It was a pretty decent start, and outside of that, it's like there has been nothing. And like if this was Supercross and we were 4 rounds in on Supercross and he was doing stuff like this, I'd be like, okay, cool, fine. But like this is outdoors. This is what he came from. So I don't know. And I mean, I guess you're right with learning the team. Maybe there's a bit of a disconnect, I want to say, between like how he interprets what the bike's doing and is trying to get them to fix it versus what they're hearing from him. And maybe that will get learned and hopefully that will get better. But man, right now it is just it is so there. It's just because there's literally like no spark, right? There hasn't been a fastest lap time. There hasn't been realistically good starts, which he's known for. There hasn't been anything. It's just been him subpar starts, riding around in 8th to 15th place. I mean, like yesterday, that first moto, like I said, he got a pretty decent start. I'm pretty sure he was in the top 5 on the start, and then he faded to 12th, and then the second moto's 23rd. I don't know, man. This, like, I've been pressing the button now for 2 weeks because I gave him the first 2 rounds, and after that, when we saw nothing at Thunder Valley last week, I was pressing the button, and I haven't stopped pressing it. And until I see something, I'm going to continue to press it because this, to me, so far is a disaster. And it's partially a disaster because he's paid to battle those guys. I know he's got a long-term deal, but he's paid to battle Jet and Eli and Chase and those guys. And it's like he is, I mean, dude, he's a minute and 30 seconds off those guys right now, which is a lot to make up.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's one thing if he was just getting, because he got a 5th at Hangtown, but it wasn't a close 5th. But I know what you're saying. If it was within range, you'd think, man, well, he's just got to clean some things up and improve this, and that. But no, it is very far back, and that's why again everyone is panicking a little. And like I said, for me, I come across a little bit like an apologist for him, but it's mainly just because I saw it before the season started when he was out at club. I could tell where he was at and how much he had done and what he was about to walk into, and I said, ooh, it's going to be a rough summer for him, and it's been definitely rougher than I thought. But at the same time, again, I know that in this sport, things can turn around super fast based on a few things. And as long as the team isn't pressing the panic button or he's pressing the panic button in a way that disrupts the relationship, then I think they'll get there. And you got to remember, Cowie, too, is learning him as much as he's learning them. They had Jason Anderson. They had Adam Cincerulo. Those are 2 riders that are nothing like Jorge Prado. They had Eli Tomac before that. So that crew, that staff, that group is learning a brand new person too. And I wouldn't be surprised if the communications aren't perfect. So to me, again, I'm going to let it just go. If I'm him, I'm feeling terrible about just the response that I'm getting because it's the reality. Everyone's got eyeballs. But at the same time, I'm not going to panic yet unless I see this into year 2 when these excuses aren't there, when he's been on that bike for a while, when he's not coming off of an injury, when he's had a chance to learn the format and the tracks, and when all of that is done and now we're past that and there is not an excuse left as far as what's new, then I'm going to put heavy judgment because you're right. He is paid to be one of the big dogs, but he's got to check some boxes first on some things that are a little outside of the norm. And until that happens, I'm just going to kind of watch it.
Well, I'm gonna start texting you on Friday and be like, hey, man, how we look every week. I'm going to be Jorge Prado update. I'm going to come up with a section for the show and our Prado weekly update from club or something here, man.
Well, can I make a prediction? Can I give you a little prediction?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, man.
I'll bet he's better at the next one at Southwick. He's pretty good at sand. We've got 2 sand tracks. We have weather all next week. He tested sand when he was at our track. So I would say right now, Southwick will probably be a step in the right direction. Doesn't mean that's like the initial step for every race, because then he's got to go to Redbud and he's got to go to Millville, and then Washougal's going to be uniquely different. But I would say Southwick, you're going to probably get a little like, oh, okay. And that's because there's a few things that actually work in his favor where nothing has to this point. You got to remember, these West Coast tracks have been unique to him too. And Highpoint, the first moto, was at least some bit appealing. I mean, he was kind of throwing it in there. He was battling. He was staying with that lead group for a little bit. So,
then
it really did fall apart. It really, it fell apart. It for sure did.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Southwick is going to be the most like what he's used to, because Southwick is so unique to being just it's sand.
Yeah.
Sand to sand. And he knows what sand feels like. So watch that one be a little bit more of a glimpse. But don't use that as one to think, okay, here we've turned it around. That's just going to be one that kind of goes, okay, I see what he could do. That's just to me, that's an easy prediction. And I see that being a decent one for him.
So let me ask you this. Is Chase watching Prado switch to Kawasaki here and second guessing his decision at this point?
I don't know, because they're so different. So he's probably not looking at it like that. I think Chase is a pretty stubborn dude. So I would say, I don't care if him and Prado and Anderson were going 2019 every moto. I don't think he's the type that would probably be freaking out, because I think he's stubborn to his decision.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me if I would be freaking out, I would, because let's be honest, he rode the KTM awesome. And as much as he may not have liked it, or I don't know if it was a personnel issue or a bike issue, I don't really know what the actual disconnect was there, but we all have eyeballs, and he ripped on his KTM. He did some of the raddest things he's done in his entire career, like Hangtown 40 to first, like East Rutherford this year. Like, there's some of his best rides I've ever seen out of him ever were on that bike. So to me, he's going from something that really did work to something that is unknown. So I would be a little freaked out for him, but knowing him, I think he's probably stubborn to, that's their problem. It's not my problem.
I don't know. I heard a super interesting thing the other day on, I think it was Gypsy, where he was like, basically like, man, literally the only professional rider that new generation Kawasaki worked for was like Roman Fevra for a while. And like now it's even starting to fall apart a little bit if you've been watching the GPs at all. So I don't know, man. If I'm Chase, I'm sitting there going, oh man, maybe I fucked up. So,
well, I would say from my point of view as an analyst watching him, I'm thinking that a little bit.
Yeah.
And we'll see what he does. Maybe he proves us all wrong, or I don't know. We'll see what he proves. But I'll tell you where he really, in my opinion, I would say probably screwed up. And it's not really because he knew the outcome would be this way. But whenever you leave somewhere, that means someone's taking your spot. And that's a scary place to be in when it's Eli Tomac who's taking his spot. Eli, obviously, as we just saw this weekend, still knows how to ride his motorcycle. And the way AP's riding and the way Chase has ridden it, I think that bike's going to be probably okay. So if you're Chase, that's the one part of this deal that to me is like, uh-oh, because you just left Eli Tomac to take your bike. And they probably learned a whole lot with you. And now they're going to learn a whole lot more with him. And who's to say that bike ain't going to be awesome for Eli? What if it is? What if it's not? But what if it is?
Mm-hmm.
And if Eli goes and whoops him on that thing, then that's going to be a pretty stinky look if you're Chase, because you left that.
Yep.
Yep. It's like leaving a chick, and then someone else comes in and takes her, and she ends up being the baddest thing ever. It's like, oops.
My fault. My fault.
My bad.
All right. Let's move on to Jet here. So have we seen Jet enter his... And I put this in the notes when I sent it to you, his VRM, his vet rider mentality era, where, like, he doesn't panic, he doesn't do super dumb shit, he is patient, he gets to where he needs to be, essentially, because, like, I was uber impressed that second moto yesterday, because his start was dog water, he didn't panic, he didn't override that track, which I thought he might. I thought it was going to be very easy for him to panic and start to override it, especially with the rain coming down. He just settled in and just methodically, even when his goggles went to shit, he just methodically picked people off, got to where he could till that moto was over, and ends up with the overall, obviously. But is that the era of Jet Lawrence we're seeing now, which I think is even more dangerous for these guys than what he was before?
I believe outdoors, he's kind of had that for a while. If you actually go back to his last year in the 250s, he used to do the same kind of thing with his brother and with Justin Cooper and with Joe Shimoda at times, where he would do exactly what was needed. He lost some motos here and there, not a lot. But I think on outdoors, he's actually been pretty smart and pretty mature from the beginning. Even his rookie year, he was kind of weirdly consistent, getting a lot of 4s and 5s and just kind of sitting there. So I think in outdoors, he's actually always had the ability to just do what is needed. He just happens to have such a high ceiling that usually what's needed is winning. So I'm not shocked when I see him do that outdoors. Now, where he's been a little goofy has been in Supercross. Both years that he won the championship indoors, he was a little bit on the goofy side, had some moments. Remember, he couldn't even win a Triple Crown until his very last try.
Yeah.
So he is always in, and his rookie year when he won the title, remember he ran into the back of Vince Freese.
Mm-hmm.
He panicked with Anderson, that whole debate. He has actually been extremely goofy indoors and panicky. But outdoors, he's always, what do you say, VRM? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, VRM, Vet Rider Mentality. We have T-shirts.
He's always had that in motocross, and it's because I think in his own mind, he knows that he's got more than everybody, and he can play this thing smart, which he's doing now. He's got a 20-something, 8, 9, 30-point lead already.
Yeah, who knows?
And he wants to win. He wants to win every race, but he's got this weird maturity outdoors. Indoors, that's where he really hasn't done that yet, and I think it's not because he doesn't think he's better than everybody. I think he knows that. It's because it's just it's tight and it's intense, and he's trapped in a little bit of a cage, and he knows the clock's ticking faster. And so I think indoors he panics a little bit more, but bro, outdoors, I've been calling him Mr. Boring for years because he always does what's right outdoors. It pisses me off. I kind of want to see him send, and he really doesn't. No, outdoors, dude, he's a freak of nature, straight up, and he knows his ceiling is way higher, and he could play.
So do you, because I was looking this up the other day just randomly, does he catch Ricky's outdoor win total? Because it's pretty crazy right now where he's at already,
dude. Okay, so I've been consistent with this, and I'm gonna say it again. I weirdly just don't see him going that long. That's the only issue, is the time frame. That kid's been under a lot of pressure, and I know he is, and he acts like it's no big deal. He's got a pretty cool demeanor, but at the same time, I know it's heavy pressure, and I don't see him going the length of time needed. I really don't. And so if he does, I could see him maybe getting, like, if he goes as long as Eli, he's getting Jeremy's and Ricky's. I mean, that's just the math based on the length of time.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if he's going to sit there and do that forever, like when he's got $50 million, $60 million in the bank and all these investments. I mean, the dude's going to be probably worth $100 million in 6-7 years, and I just don't know if you're going to see that, especially if Hayden Deegan comes in and emotionally wears him out. I mean, and I do think that's coming. And I'm a Deegan believer when it comes to the motorcycle.
Oh boy.
I think he's a freak. And I do think that he's going to be good enough to be an absolute pain in Jet's ass. And who we'll see how that goes. But I could just see him not going that long because he's going to be rich and over it. I've had that feeling since before he even won his first title. Go back to my first Gypsy Tales interview.
Yeah.
I said he will do this until he's bored, and I could see that day coming.
Yeah, and that is the one thing with Deegan, right? So Deegan's been rich for a long time. So, like, for him, this is literally all about winning races and winning championships, and I don't see Deegan getting bored with that. I see Deegan being like, yep, we're going to catch all these records, pass all these records. We're going to do this until I can't. I could see him being very Chad Reed-ish, of just like
until the camera goes off.
Yep.
He's been on the camera his whole life. I think he'll stay on the camera as long as the camera's on. And I think he truly is an entertainer and a performer. And a killer. I mean, straight up, it's not like he's just some kind of like entertainer. Like, the dude is a killer. Bourget, I think, has got a lot riding on him, and I think eventually he might have a Villapoto Dungey RC type thing where he's 27 and maybe 28 and goes, man, I'm rich and I'm kind of over it.
You mean wins 5 Supercross titles in a row, however many outdoor titles are in there, every single SMX title ever, and then it's just like, yep, I'm fucking done. I'm out. See you later.
And having to listen to his competition, tell him to suck it every weekend. He's probably going to be like, Yeah, I'm annoyed. I'm out of here.
I mean, dude, okay, so the best thing right now about Jet is just the press conferences with Eli and watching him say stuff and watching Eli try not to laugh. Like, that is the best thing I've ever seen my entire life, because Eli just up there trying to be the stoic just dude he is, and Jet says such dumb shit that Eli can't even help it. He is giggling internally the entire time Jet's talking, and even more so when it's something to do with him. He is just, I mean, it is, I don't even watch Jet speak. I just watch what Eli's doing anymore, because it's like, dude, I know Jet's saying something dumb by how big the smile's getting on Eli's face. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I like it too, because essentially, like, if you're Eli, you're probably so weirdly annoyed, but like also entertained, because look, Jet is goofy, and he's also badass. Eli's not sitting here looking at him going, "This kid ain't nothing." Like, he knows he's a super freak. He knows he's badass. He also knows he's goofy, but he wants to beat him so bad. So if you're Eli, you're probably battling this. God, man, I hate this, but kid's kind of funny and he's kind of goofy. And you're right, he's a stoic dude, but he's sitting next to kind of this goofy weirdo who is also at the same time, like, I mean, Jet's a freaking legend already. So if you're Eli, I would love to know what's going on in that brain when he's sitting there. And I think he hates these outcomes because he wants to win so bad. That's how he's wired. But I also don't think he hates Jet. I think he probably kind of likes him.
I think so too.
You know?
And it's like, it's like we've all talked about, right? Like, you get Chase up there next to Jet, and like, there is a little bit of a tension there, right? Because Jet looks at him, I think, as like an action. I don't want to say this wrong. He looks at him as like a competitor, right? And not like the savvy veteran who's a legend. Like, he looks at Eli and has respect. And I don't want to say he doesn't respect Chase, but there's just like, it's different. It's completely different, because I think Chase is more the now really fast guy. Eli is he was super duper fast, and he still is, but like it's different, right?
Well, yeah, but think about the background. Go back in time when Geico folded and Jet and Hunter got moved into that Honda truck. Jet was young. He was still young. It was before everything really started popping. In fact, it might have been before I think it was before he even won his first title.
Yeah.
And I know from being around Jet back in that period that he was mouthy and he was a shit talker and not being a jerk, just like, I'm better than you. And so imagine you're Chase. You've already won the Supercross title twice. You're a 450 guy, and this kid is just a kid. Well, that kid grew up. So if you're Chase, you don't like him. I know he doesn't. And if you're Jet, you're probably like, that guy probably wasn't very nice to me back in the day. And from what I understand, I think Hunter and Chase probably were pretty cool. They're closer in age. They're like, so I think Jet and Chase's relationship has always been a little bit weird, but that goes back to him being a 17-year-old kid in the truck before he won anything, mouthing off all the time.
Yep.
And now he's a 22-year-old, 23-year-old man or whatever he is, and he's perfect season the very first year, and Chase had to lose to him every moto. So, yeah, that's a different relationship right there.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's super interesting, but I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it.
Oh, I love it. I couldn't believe we got Eli and Jet. I didn't think we were going to get this, but guess what? Now we're still going to get Eli and Hayden.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
We're going even younger. We're going to get Eli next summer with Hayden.
Yeah, which is hilarious too. So like, I have some members and I have some super fans of the channel here that are very upset of the whole Yamaha letting Eli thing go, and I'm like, look, I understand it from a business perspective. There, Eli came in 4 years ago to Star on a 2-year deal of, hey, he's going to do these 2 years and then he's going to retire, and then he has the Achilles thing in 23, and he's like, oh no, I'm not done. And then he has whatever, I can't even remember because everything blends together last year, and now he's still here. And it's like, look, at some point you can't keep taking a guy along with you. If the guy says he's going to retire and then he decides he's just going to keep going, like, there isn't just unlimited funds for him. He's not in the beginning of his career or even the prime of his career. He's at the end of his career. So, like, at some point you got to just pull the ripcord and say, look, enough's enough. We can't take anymore, bro. We got to let you go.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like Yamaha's been put in a really weird spot here, and it's like one of those things that it's like no matter what they decide, it's going to suck for them because you're right. And if history proves anything, these guys get older, they're not as good. It ends up being like, oh my God, why did we keep going? We blew it. And in reality, they've been dealt a weird hand by Eli too, because he wasn't giving them a lot of security in a, hey, I want to do this for a while. I feel good. It's been this, let me think about it. So eventually you've got to make a business decision, but then all of a sudden he's like, okay, I thought about it and I'm good to go and I'm still badass. Look at this. And now you're Yamaha going, dude, well, what the heck are we supposed to do? So I completely understand from their perspective being, I would say, I mean, in a corner. I mean, totally in a corner.
Oh, yeah.
But here's where I differ with a lot of the thinking. The thinking is that it was, we got to choose Hayden over Eli, and I don't think that's what it was. They chose the Coopers, Justin Cooper and Cooper Webb over Eli. And what are they supposed to do there when Cooper Webb is leading the Supercross championship and Justin Cooper is breaking out at the exact same time that Eli's saying, I want to come back for a while? Essentially, they had to go, well, who do we want? Both Coopers? Or do we want Eli Tomac? And that's the decision that was made. Hayden was coming no matter what. They would choose Hayden over Eli, Cooper Webb, and Justin Cooper if they had to.
Yeah. And
so to me, it wasn't about him. It was about Cooper Webb and Justin Cooper. And again, what's Yamaha supposed to do when one of them is breaking out and the other one's winning you a Supercross championship? And then Eli's sitting here injured for the third injury in a row going, I'm coming back for, I want more, multiple years. Like Yamaha was lose no matter what happens here. Unless, of course, Eli sucks, which he hasn't. He's badass. So.
Yeah.
So lose for Yamaha, man. But hey, spoils of riches. That's what happens. They could only learn how to run the rest of their TV or 250 team outside of Hayden. That's whatever.
just pushed into a corner there. Just pushed into a corner. So, okay. So, couple quick more topics here before I let you go, because I said I wouldn't keep you super long because it's Father's Day and I know your kid's got to treat you like a king here today. So I don't want to take up too much of that. On the Tomac train here. Is Tomac being pushed to his limit by Jet, and that's why he's crashing?
Yes.
Okay.
100%, I believe. So Eli wants to beat Jet really, 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 really badly, and he's been very obvious in that attempt with the fact that he's all in. He's riding the wheels off that thing. And if you look back in history, Eli has had goofy moments indoors a lot, to be honest. Even the year he won that Supercross championship, he crashed a few times that year, too, had a couple big ones. And indoors has always been a little bit weirder for him. Go back to his winning years on the outdoors, though, he never falls. Like, I other than that first year on the Honda where he had that big one at Colorado, like, take that out, and that guy didn't really go down ever in outdoor. And now he was going down. I mean, he went multiple weeks he was on the ground. So, to me, that's only because he's trying. Those are effort mistakes. And the effort is because the elevated pace that Jet Lawrence is put out, it's not just a perception of speed. Jet obviously hasn't really just hammered these dudes, but he knows that Jet is faster, has a higher gear if he needs to, which means Eli has to tap into his best. So Eli used to do beast mode in the end of the motos when he had everyone else covered and he could just blitz through them all late, kind of like Baggett used to do back in the 250 days. But Eli never did that from the drop of the gate. He did that at the end when everything was under control, the track was at its worst, and he really had the board figured out. He would go and hit this new level of beast mode. This is different, and it's because of Jet, 100%. But when it works, it works. It's badass. I mean, Hangtown, he won a moto, and he stayed up. And then this weekend, he stayed up in some tough conditions. So when it works, it works. But at the same time, it's hard to work every single moto because Jet is like a robot. And he's just going to be there putting out this intense speed that Eli has to match, and it's all coming with effort. So, yes, to answer your question the long way, yes, it's Jet Lawrence for sure.
Well, let me just say, I cannot believe they nailed with Eli there, having the roll-offs for that second moto there. Like, talk about an incredible
clutch
late game audible there to like, hey, give me the ones with the roll-offs because it's gonna effing rain. And then just the skies opening up, just absolutely incredible. So all right, so one more question here. I didn't put this on the notes for you, so I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here. on the Deegan thing here. We've been talking about this kind of, not you and I, but me and some of the other guys have been talking about this. So Deegan is going, it's pretty widely accepted. He's going to go 450 outdoors next year. He's going to be on Star again next year. Is it 2027 or 2028 that we see a Deegan 38 team?
Oh, okay. I won't put the year because I don't know that part. There's a lot of complications, but I'll go with the yes. It's going to happen. It's funny because I've actually DM'd that to Brian. I DM'd that to Brian 2 years ago. I was like, hey, I forget what it was. It was something about, this is back when I was at KTM. I DM'd it. This is before, I mean, I don't think we're very cool anymore, but we were cool back then. I said, hey.
Wait, hold on. Now there's a story I feel like we all need as to why you're not so cool with Brian.
No, it's not really a story. It's just like, I mean, I poked fun at him a lot this year, and Hayden DM'd me a couple times just because I was just jacking with him for fun. I mean, obviously my overreaction show went away, but when I was doing overreaction, he was the easiest one to hit, man, because he always did or said something that made it fun. I mean, that was like a spoof show. You just make fun of things, and he was like he was the gift.
Dude.
But anyways, no, back in the day, I DM'd him. I forget what it was word for word, but it was something along the lines of, hey, when you start Team 38 and you need a team manager, hit me up. And he LOL'd back at me because it's obvious that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get to a point eventually when he's going to go, okay, I'm the top 450 guy, at least on this brand, or maybe in the world, or the sole issue for Jet. And he's going to go, I want to build my own personnel out from top to bottom. And when I ride for another team, that means I'm kind of subject to whoever is on that team, and I don't have all the say, and it's a tug of war.
Yeah.
Eventually, you don't want the tug of war, and you want to do all your own way. Chad Reed did the same thing, and he was very successful because Chad didn't want a tug of war either. He built his own staff from top to bottom, and he was unbelievable in those years when he did Tutu.
Yeah.
So the question is the year. I don't know, but yes, that will happen, and it might not be at Yamaha. It might be at Cowie. It'll be anywhere but Honda. But I will tell you, at some point, I believe they will have their own team, and that's where it will finish out. It'll be Team 38, and he'll staff it. And to me, that's so easy to see. I just don't see how they would ever in the long run be willing to work under someone else where they don't have say from top to bottom.
Well, so, I will tell you some things I've heard, and I'm sure you've probably heard them, and whether you want to confirm or deny, that's totally fine. So number one, I believe it will be with a Yamaha underneath him unless something drastically changes, because from my understanding, when he was negotiating here with the going to 450 or whatever, Yamaha basically said, look, we'll do whatever you want, whether it's your own thing or with Star. You can basically carte blanche. It's all yours. Like, we will support you, whatever, right? And again, I'm a nobody in Michigan, so take this for what it's worth. But this is the rumor mill that I'm hearing, is that Yamaha's told him that. I also know that Kawasaki, before the Sexton thing, Kawasaki went in and was chasing a big fish and went after him, from what I understand, with like somewhere between a $2 and $3 million salary. Now, whether that was 250 going into 450 or that was a 450 only deal, I'm not 100% sure. But I do know from good sources who control that pocketbook that they went after him with somewhere in the range of $2 to $3 million salary a year, which he turned down, obviously. And I don't believe he would go to Kawasaki because, like I said, I just think with the Deegans, when we get there, the money is the thing with them, right? Like, and they have money. They're rich. We all know this. They've had money for a long time. Brian did very well, but Hayden's chasing race wins and titles. He doesn't really care about the money. He wants to have money, but he doesn't really care. That's not the main focus. So I don't see him going to Kawasaki. I see him staying with Yamaha. I see him doing a Deegan 38 team, and I see him doing it strictly because they'll be able to make so much more money. Like, can you imagine a Deegan 38 Ford Toyo tire monster insert whatever else racing team? I mean, it's going to be incredible to see when it happens. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, it's so easy to see that I'm with you. I don't know what year.
Like, I just do you know what his star is his star deal up after next year, or is it the year after?
I have no idea. I'm not sure what they ended up deciding there. I just know that he is going up next year, and it's in the summer. And then I've always been under the belief that it was going to happen in the Supercross season. But word is they're talking about him defending. But I could see him in the off season, like laying down some 450 testing and then just saying "F it." That's
Yeah.
Now, do I want to put my money on it? No, I probably do what would be considered the right thing. Start in the outdoor where he's better, where he's more comfortable.
Yep.
Not throw him into the wolves indoors because again, he hasn't really mastered that all the way. I mean, that's kind of not fair to say either. He did clinch a round early, and at the same time, he smashed the last couple. So. But I don't know. I would love to see him go early. I think, I'm hearing about possibly racing some off-season races with him. I've heard even maybe racing a World Supercross round possibly. And if that was to happen, I just don't see why he would go do that on a 250. Like, why in the hell would you do that? That seems so counterproductive to the idea of doing it. Like, what, you're going to go race with Shane McElrath? Like, that sounds silly. So I could actually see him racing a 450 in the off-season. One of these international races, and then if it goes as well as it probably would go, them going, let's just do it. I mean, I know he's pitting out of the other truck next year, so we'll see. To me, indoors flip a coin, outdoors for sure, and either way, he's going to be good on it. I've bought in all the way. Like there's no doubt.
How early do you think he clinches this outdoor title? Are we 3 rounds?
No, I don't think he can mathematically. I mean, that would be 75, and he'd have to do that by the 8th. We're 4 now, so he's at 44, I think, right now. Is at 44, so I mean, if these 250 knuckleheads can't get it together, maybe he does do it 3. Actually, no, it's not 75. What am I talking about? That's in Moto. He would have to get to 150 to do it 3 rounds early because it's 50 per round. So, no, I think that he could possibly get it 2 rounds early if he could get it to 100. And that's a possibility with the 250 guys the way they're riding right now. I could see him getting it 2 rounds early, and maybe they throw him on one then. That would be pretty rad.
That was my next question. Do we see him on a 450 for the last round or two if he clinches that early?
I'm here for it, man. I think he's sick. I think he's sick. And again, there's a lot of people out there that think I don't like him because I take shots at him all the time on YouTube. That's because it's fun. That's the only reason why I do that is because that's what he does, and it's fun. So I actually really like him a lot. In fact, being honest, I like him more than Jet. I don't like him more than Hunter. I like Hunter the most. Hunter is my dude. But
me and Hunter are best friends. So
who's that?
Me and Hunter.
Dude, I think Hunter's awesome. He's great. His Supercross championship party, I sat with that guy for 2 hours. Everyone else was partying and raging. Me and him sat and talked music for 2 hours. I think he's legitimately one of the coolest dudes. But no, I like Hayden a lot, and I am so here for all of it. Again, even when he says dumb stuff, to me, it's just a gift.
It's total WWE. I've said it before. I'll say it again. When he retires, I'm shutting the show down. Like, we're done. There's nothing that's ever going to top this Deegan experience. We're blocked by him, so like that's a whole thing. I've told you that before. So yeah, no. Once he's done, like we're out. Like there's
hilarious.
Zero chance that the show could get any better than what it is right now with him being in it. So
he's been weirdly mature lately, though. It's kind of boring. So,
yeah, but that's
I was
because
hoping
he's dominating.
Chance was going to beat him again, because if Chance beat him again, he was going to get weird.
Yeah,
we needed that a little bit.
Yeah, we did, but we didn't get it.
But it's going to get weird with Jet, dude. He's got a problem with Jet. I can tell you that right now.
Of course he does.
I got some funny DMs from Hayden that he has said some things that I can't wait. I can't wait. I want him there now. I'm impatient.
I can't wait. I'm gonna text you after this. I gotta see these DMs. I gotta hear about this. So
it's great, dude. They're just it's exactly what you would expect, and it's just like I can't wait. I'm impatient. I'm like a child, like a little kid, and I just want to see these two in the 450 class entertaining us for however many years Jet decides to do it.
Hell yeah. Well, I've kept it for longer than a half hour. I'm sorry about that. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on, man. Daniel Blair, Club MX. Thank you for coming on. We'll have you on again. When does Main Event Moto go back to being public again? Because you guys are doing that in the fall, right? Is that what you're doing?
Never.
Oh, okay. Never mind. We changed plans.
It's worked out way too good. Like honestly, we just our little world we've created is so good, and we've decided that we're not gonna go back to the public. We like Patreon. It's freedom, man. I get to say a lot of things on there that I would never be able to say publicly because it's my chance to be my most freest, and I don't want to change that. And everyone there knows, like, hey, whatever is said here, for the most part, it's pretty safe. So I would never want to be back public where I'm just winging it, because when I wing it, I say things I probably shouldn't, and it feels good to be private.
I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, so we're gonna stay as is.
Gets us blocked by a lot of people. It's totally fine. So, all right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it, and we'll definitely have you on again. Hopefully, when there's some other people in studio too to ask some dumb questions. So, thanks, brother. I will. I'm gonna text you Friday for that Jorge Prado update.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right, later, buddy.
Like.
All right, Daniel Blair, everybody. God, what a fucking legend. Super happy there. Let's take. Okay, let's. Hopefully everybody liked that. Appreciate it. We got some members chat going on here. Going to be a good show with GB or with DB. Says Jeffrey Wingard. Yes, it was. Biggest problem is Jorge thought he was going to come in and win right away. Now he isn't even close. It's bike this and bike that, yeah, which is not the bike. We kind of talked about it. Not saying bike doesn't need work, but still think pace of these guys. Yeah, he's it's definitely a Prado situation. Oh shit, I guess I should get the Daniel Blair thing off the bottom here. So let's turn Daniel Blair off. Let's turn the sponsor banner back on for right now. I'm doing this all myself, guys. Hopefully everybody's enjoying this here. Steven says he's top pro. Learn how to twist the throttle or go home. Yes. Thanks, DB. Love your takes. Yeah, DB's awesome. Really appreciate him giving us some time there. So let me top off my ice here real quick. This is going to be a super, super duper cool segment here called me filling my ice, putting more ice in my drink because it's hot in here. I'm sweating. It's hot. And then we're going to call Coach Robb. We're going to talk some 250s with Coach Robb. I'm sure we're going to talk all sorts of shit because me and Coach Robb will get going, and this will never end. So give me 2 seconds here. Let's get some ice. All right, there we are. Sorry about that. This is what happens when I don't have any co-hosts because I fucking suck at different things. So let's give Coach Robb a call here. New FaceTime. Coach Robb. Boom. Let's call Coach Robb here. See if he's... Hopefully he's ready for us. I'll see if I can turn these things correctly here. Maybe he's not answering. Maybe he's pissed.
The man, the myth, and the legend. What are you doing, buddy?
Coach Robb, what is up? We are live, just so you know, so you don't say anything too incriminating here while we go.
Oh, man. I'm glad you gave me the heads up because I was about to go. No, I'm just kidding.
That's okay.
Thanks so much for having me, buddy.
I mean, we can talk all sorts of shit. It's fine. It's fine. I was just on the phone with Daniel Blair, and I hit him with some lefts and some rights. That, like, I sent him notes, which amazingly is something you know how this show goes. We don't ever do notes. I actually sent you, hey, we're going to talk mostly 250s, so be prepared for that, which is a step in the right direction here. But I sent some stuff to Daniel Blair too, like, hey, we're going to talk 450s, and this is kind of some directions we're going to go. And then all of a sudden I went off script really, really quickly, and there we were. So
how's that legend doing? Is he doing good over at club?
He is loving life right now. Absolutely loving life, having a great time, and just doing legendary things. So
that's awesome.
He handled the insanity of the stupidest motocross show on the internet with elegance and grace. And hopefully everything is smooth. I really thought I pissed him off a few weeks ago. Love the guy. I was listening to Pulp or something with him on there. They were talking about him watching a thing about flat earth. I texted him and said, oh, you're a big flat earth guy. And then, of course, because you know how I am, Coach, I can't not say what's on my mind. I sent him another text, and I looked at it after I sent it, and I was like, God, you are a fucking moron. Like, why did you send that to him? Thinking he would never talk to me again after that one, because I really said something stupid. And then here we are. He's still on the show. So I guess, whatever, all water under the bridge, we're good. So
No, that just shows you Daniel's character.
yeah.
He can agree to disagree, and he doesn't have to censor you. He doesn't have to shut you down. He doesn't have to say you're a jerk. He just, whatever, dude. You're entitled to your opinion. He just moves on. So
Look,
we need more of that in the sport.
Look,
and
I don't
probably
have
even
any
in the world.
I don't have any opinion, okay? I question everything. It was just I'll tell you later. I don't want to blow out all of it here publicly.
Sure.
I'll tell you later what I said to him. It was one of those fucking really there's very few times I look at something I say and go, "Man, you are a fucking moron, Travis." That was one of those times. It was just one of those times where I went like, "Man, you are such an idiot. Like, why did you go there? What a moron." Anyway, Coach, I want to thank you for coming on the show here. Coach Robb, brought to you by Complete Racing Solutions and Energy Fuel, which thank goodness Coach has hooked me up with every single year because I use this stuff religiously. In fact, it is essentially my bridge right now between when I eat in the morning and when I get home from work, because it is so freaking hot in this shop that like I can't even eat most days in the afternoon. If I eat something, I'm gonna throw it up because it's so hot in here. So I literally just go to the old Energy Fuel at some point. Keeps me going, keeps me hydrated, keeps me from passing out. And go with that. So again, thank you, Coach, for hooking me up with that. I didn't realize exactly how that whole situation worked till I got the box the other day, and I was like, oh, all right, Coach is sending me this out of his own pocket here. This is very special. So
No, my pleasure, and I'm glad the product works. We put quite a bit of beta testing into it, so super proud of it. 3 different formulations based on intensity and duration. So there's a legitimate science behind all of it. It's interesting you talk about, it gets hotter than a witch's tit, Halloween there. People don't realize heat, humidity, high heart rate, and overall stress in life, all of those will suppress appetite. So I know you're in the shop there pretty darn early and you keep some long hours. The scary part about it with what you do is, and even for the listeners, if you're doing something where you start to get dehydrated, that screws up your depth perception, like on the motorcycle. If you think about what we're doing, we're constantly threading the needle all the time, trying to put that tire in that 6-inch rut. But when you're dealing something professionally, you're dealing with machinery or like the type of work that you do with high temperatures and big pieces of equipment, I mean, think about it, the ramifications could be huge. So we are using a lot of it in the industrial side of things, and I'm glad people are putting a lot of confidence into it, and you're more than welcome. And like I always tell you, don't ever get down to half a bag, call me. Don't wait till you run out, because then the old military world, 2 is 1, 1 is none. So
yep. Well, I've started using it more frequently than I have in past years. I may need a refill bag here at some point during this summer.
Just let me know, man.
So, well.
And hey, and props to you guys. Congratulations. I think the last time I looked, you guys are sitting at just over 12,000, 13,000 subscribers on YouTube.
We're almost at 12.5 here.
Hell yeah.
It's amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's amazing we are keeping afloat here, because I have been so busy with stuff on and off here that there are times that it's like I'm lucky to get the show itself out. So
sure.
So it's like on top of like not even counting like doing shorts or any of that stuff, which again I have, but getting them posted and everything. And I was telling Daniel Blair before we got started that we've upgraded here in the studio, right? I bought a multi-camera setup. For anybody who hasn't watched, I don't know how recently you've watched a full show or anything.
No, I watch them all.
Yeah, so I've got a multi-camera, a 3-camera setup now on a switchboard here with everything. We live stream to the members literally as we're doing this right now. We're doing all of that, and I hired a kid probably like 2-3 months ago to sandblast, right? Just a neighbor's relative. Just happened to know him, and he happened to lose his other job, and hey, can I have one? Yeah, sure, no problem. So I bring him into sandblast just like a high school kid, and like 3 weeks in, he tells me that he's techie. Well, that's right when I get this multi-camera set up. And mind you, that week before, I'm sitting here for like 2.5 hours prior to the show trying to get this multi-camera set up to work, and like cannot get it done. We start the show. It's a whole mess. So
Sure.
we're talking, and he's like, yeah, I want to start a computer shop when I graduate and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait, you're like techie? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, come here. I got something to show you. So I bring him over into the studio and show him, and he's like, I'm like, you think you can get this working? He's like, oh, yeah, just, yeah. I'm like, cool. Well, why don't you quit sandblasting for the day and see if you can get it done? 2 hours later, he's like got the whole thing working, and I'm like, holy shit. So then he comes in, and now I haven't had him sandblast anything for the last month and a half. He just comes in. I had him get this all set up. I've actually got a couple of things set. Like, I have it set up where we could, like when we're doing the breakdowns of the results or whatever, I actually have it set up where we could scroll the results. I just have to copy and paste them in there, which I haven't done yet.
Nice.
And you know, things like that, and allowing us to do the live stream and all this stuff. Like, literally, if I didn't have him, we would not be fucking doing any of this. We would still be live streaming off my iPhone. I would be adding stuff and mixing stuff, and it would be a whole mess like it was. But with him, we've got all this, and then once he got all this set up, which didn't take him but 2 days of working here, not even full days, right? He works like half days or whatever. Then since then, I've had him literally building out website stuff for me for the coating shop,
Nice.
because we're selling some different products now on there. And so I'm literally like, okay, cool, build this, do this, make it, and it's like basic stuff, but like I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm tech retarded, okay? Like, I don't
Exactly.
understand this. So I'm like, hey,
Yep.
man, go into the website here and make it as simple as when you go into the shop section, it asks for your email, and then you punch your email in and you get 10% off. Like, basic stuff we see on most of these
Sure.
websites. But if you don't know what you're doing, like, you don't know what you're
And
doing. And so
that's right.
I'm like, hey, do this. So he spends a couple of days, boom, he's got that done. And then he's adding new sections. And then the other day he tells me, oh, yeah, I'm really into photography, as he's taking pictures of a new product that we're getting ready to put on the website. And he's like, oh, these pictures aren't that good. Hold on, I got my camera in my truck. And he's getting his camera out. He's shooting with it. And I'm like, holy shit. Dude, what do you not do? And, like, he works Papa John's or whatever, too. But he just switched his schedule because he wants to come in here and sit while we do the show and be the guy in the corner, which I'm not complaining about at all, because I'm like,
Oh, there
bro,
you go.
this is
Yep.
awesome.
You're gonna take on the big boys if you do that. You'd be the only person that's got a live producer with you, or second, maybe the third. 'Cause I think producer Joe does Daniels.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, we're trying, man, because so like I have the switchboard in front of me, right? But like, I don't know if you've ever watched Darkside's podcast, and I love Darkside.
No.
Like no hate comms here or anything like that, but his buddy sits there and does the switchboard at the desk with him, and it drives me crazy seeing that guy press the button. And I don't even watch most of the show. I'm mostly listening, but it drives me crazy to see him press the button, the video switches. Press the button, the video switches, and I can see it. So like,
Yes.
I can't wait to have him in the corner to like do that, and I don't have to do it. And like the amount of stuff, the other stuff, like it's kind of refreshing because he's only 17, and we all know how these kids are nowadays. They don't really want to work per se, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He wants to. He wants
Nice.
to do stuff with the show. He wants to. I'll tell you what we're doing, Coach. So there's these little utility knives from Milwaukee makes them.
Yeah.
And they're called a fastback, right? You just hit the button and you flip it open and then you flip it closed, whatever. And it's been a big thing, and we custom color them. If you go to the TLR Coatings website, or the TLR Coatings Instagram, you'll see them. It's all over it, right?
Yeah.
So we've been selling that. So he comes to me the other day and says, "Hey, man, why don't we build out a thing where they can go in and pick the colors themselves, and it will show them what their knife is going to look like. Instead of just having designated color options, which you pick and do, it will actually show them. It'll be a full customization thing." And I said, that is a fantastic idea. I absolutely fucking love it, and we would be the only people in the United States to be able to do this. I said, I don't have enough money to pay you to build that right now. like literally, I cannot afford to pay, because like this, I know this is going to be hours upon hours upon hours of programming to be able to get this done, so that when they click this neon green with black letters and whatever else, it pops up and shows that image on the screen and whatever. I'm like, I love it, but we gotta build some more stuff first before we do this. And it's like with the show, I'm like, dude, I don't have a bunch of money to pay you for the show stuff. So like you can do it and we'll figure out some sort of split on what I'm making on the back end here where I'll give you some money as this goes, and like as it gets bigger, like I'll pay you more until we get to the point that I'm like, okay, cool, here you can have a salary or whatever, but like, and he's like, yeah, man, cool, like let's do this. And then he's
Now you're talking.
dude, well, and then he's like doing, so basically the website right now is through Wix, and
Okay.
Wix limits what you can do with your shop tab. And what I mean by that is like, say you have variations of stuff in that certain specific item, you can only have a certain amount of pictures in there for variation. So you can only have 15. If you want more than 15 options, you can't do it. So like we're trying to create a shop all tab where you can pick from any color variation we have right now, which we have 18. So we literally can't do a shop all tab that has them all on there. And so he's researching this and trying to figure out workarounds or whatever. And he finally comes to me and he goes, hey, we got to redo the website on a different platform. And I'm like, this sounds like a lot of money I don't have. He's like, okay. He's like, well, let me do some research. And I'm like, okay. So then he's talking to me about the other day. And I'm like, look, man, I appreciate you doing this. I cannot pay you all these hours here. So like, if you want to continue to do it, that's fine. But don't feel bad if you don't, because this is literally like a, you want to do this. I'm not trying to front and be like, hey, I'll pay you all this money for all these hours. He's like, no, it's cool.
Sure.
I understand. He's like, I want to help. I want to help this. I want to do this. I want to move this along. I like doing this stuff. And like, you have a platform to be able to do it. I'm like, great. As long as you're not thinking like, hey, you're going to sit there and research this, and then I'm going to pay you for 4 hours of research. Like, I'll pay you while you're here to do research, because I see you. You're over here. You're looking up YouTube. You're Googling. You're whatever. I see it because I'm in the shop working. I'm like, that I'll pay you for. But like outside the shop, like, I'm sorry, I just don't have the funds to pay. And he's like, no, it's fine. It's totally cool. So
that's so cool.
Great kid. Like I said, really actually does have a work ethic, wants to do stuff like this and like see it. And I've told him, I'm like, look, man, we build this. We can figure this out. We can then go to other companies and sell our services here. Like I understand the business side of it to make this work. So you figure out the technical side, and we'll make this work and make some money. And he's like, yep, got it. Okay, sweet. Thanks, kid.
Yep. Well, to your point exactly. You know, you and I could talk off the record, but yeah, I'd like to utilize his services as well. So we can put something together that benefits everybody, keeps him busy, keeps him paid, and
yeah,
you know, because there's so many similarities, and we all need to help each other out. And you know, as Johnny Hopper says, rising tide.
Oh yeah.
You know, raises all boats. So yeah, congratulations. You've got a diamond in the rough there when you've got a young kid that really wants to work and wants to learn. And hey, where else can you get paid to learn and then be part of what, you know, get a profit sharing of what you build, especially at the ground, not so much ground level. Again, congratulations to you and Justin and part-time Cole. That's cool. I'm glad you guys have that going on, but no, it's good stuff all the way around.
Hell yeah. Well, like I said, he's never done any of this stuff, so I'm pushing him to do stuff he's never done, but like I said, he'll sit here and figure it out and has like that tech brain to like know how to implement it, right? Because like, yeah, I could watch the YouTube video too, and I would still be like, I don't understand why it's not working. This doesn't make any sense to me. So
yeah.
How are things going with Complete Racing Solutions right now? CRS. How we doing over there?
Wide open. Thanks for asking. It's a good time of the year. We've been kind of going through, for the listeners, I don't know if you guys enjoy any kind of software, but we've been running through a lot of tests of what we call delivery software. So like if you've ever taken an online course, there's just a multitude of places where you can go get both the, let's just say, knowledge, like the education side. Then you have to be able to implement testing. Then you have to be able to, you know, grade the test. So we are launching a certified coaching program. So anybody who wants to get into the world of human performance specific to, for our listeners here on this show, in the two-wheeled world, what we want to do is we want people, and if you can kind of zoom out to 10,000 feet, whether you're a listener, whether you have or have not been in the, you know, out of a factory rig, so to speak, it's as eligible for you as it is for somebody that may just currently be getting out of the racing scene, if you will. One of the things that I haven't liked over the last 40 years is, and I'm sure you could make a laundry list, how many people have you seen, and the listeners think about it, how many people have you seen 15, 20 years at the elite level, and then all the opportunities leave them, and so they go into another industry, taking all of that experience with them. So what I talked to our team about is, what can we do? Let's take somebody like a Kevin Morantz, right? Extremely, uh, you know, stellar career. He gets done with racing. I don't want him to go into another industry. I want him to be able to give back to the next generation of kids wherever he decides to live in the world, where we, Complete Racing Solutions, can provide a undergraduate degree in human physiology, nutrition, sports psychology, injury prevention, adrenal fatigue, how to avoid it, what it is. Now I can educate him from a textbook standpoint, give him an 8-year degree in 2 years. And now he's a certified coach, where now I have Travis, who owns a piece of dirt. He has a facility somewhere. I can go to Travis and say, hey, Trav, let me put a CRS certified coach at your facility. It'll differentiate your track from everyone else. What we will do is we will become a revenue stream for the track owner. So now everybody that lives within a 30-mile, 40-mile radius of your track, they could come and work with Kevin Morantz, who's a CRS certified coach. So now the parents get consistency. So they leave Michigan, they go to Texas. Well, now they're at Cycle Ranch, they've got a CRS coach. They go over to the Carolinas, they're at Next Level, they've got a certain CRS certified coach. They go to California, they go to Paris Raceway, they've got a CRS certified coach. The important part is that the coaches are all teaching the same thing. Now, what we want to be able to do is, if you look at this as a 3-tier program, we want to be able to have certified coaches throughout the world. Right now, we have a total of 117 locations around the world: Australia, New Zealand, the UK. We have coaches all over the world. What we want to now do is make them certified coaches. So then we can go and put them in different places where there's facilities. Now, think about this. We have less people leaving the sport. Now those people are giving back to the next generation. Those coaches are literally teaching the young athletes how to grow and develop for longevity. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a guarantee: any coach, any rider that works with one of our CRS coaches, if we ever run an athlete into the ground, we will give that parent 100% of the money they've ever given us.
Hell yeah.
It's a lifetime guarantee.
Yep.
Because if you look at the so-called trainers that are out there, they ruin a young athlete's health and they just get replaced by somebody else that comes up the pipe.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, it's like, hey, I would rather not complain about it. Let's try to fix the problem. We have too many young athletes: Jet Reynolds, Ryder D. I'm thinking a lot of these young kids that when they went pro, there was this huge expectation that they would continue to ascend to greatness, that have either stagnated or actually took a step backwards. Now, you read the injury report that pops up and they're like, oh, rider XYZ has food poisoning for the 11th week in a row. If you believe that, I have a bridge in Cairo, Georgia, I'll sell you. Right? So my thing is don't complain about it. Recognize that there's a problem. These young parents are trying to just do the best they can with the knowledge that they can get access to.
Yeah.
So that's where I said to myself, wait a second, why don't we bring the knowledge to the parents and meet the parents where they're at? Why don't we add more value to the facilities? You know, if I'm Scott with Paris, if I'm Bud at Glen Helen, if I'm JP Money at Next Level, if, you know, choose whatever track you want. I would love to be able to go to you as a landowner and say, let me create positive revenue for you.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah.
But then when we do that, the tracks make money, the trainers make money, the parents are investing in a program that has a guarantee behind it. And, you know, take any so-called high-profile trainer and you look at their track record and take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. How many people did they take to the top? How many people did they ruin? And if you do it really subjectively, the numbers will blow your mind, Trav.
Oh,
It'll
yeah.
absolutely blow your mind. It's sad.
Coach, we talk about this stuff off the record all the time. Trust me, I'm well aware. I look at this stuff and I'm just like, oh boy, this is. I mean, we've had conversations on the show about people like Jet Reynolds, Casey Cochran, Ryder D, those kind of guys that like, and me and Justin Cole were actually having this conversation not too long ago about like, man, it's amazing the guys that come through the Team Green Elite program that fizzle, that are, I mean, absolute studs coming up, get on a big bike and just fizzle into oblivion. Absolutely fizzle into oblivion. So,
Well, this is the reason why I don't want to complain about it. I've spent the last 2 years writing the curriculum. We spent the first 6 months of the year testing different delivery platforms. We actually signed off on one the beginning of June. We'll finish our onboarding by the end of July. We have a group of coaches throughout the world that we're going to be, you know, working out the bed bugs, if you will, for the last 6 months of the year, and then we will go public in January. If you follow me on social media, you've seen where I've put out some feelers over the last year about looking for elite coaches.
yep.
So we have a short list of about 75 coaches around the world. Those will be our first round of coaches that we will be running through the program and then systematically placing them around the world. So think about it. Let's say Kevin Marantz goes through our program, gets his degree, and if he wants to go and say he's wanted to live in Australia, well, he could go work with Nathan Crawford at one of our CRS performance facilities in Australia. If Kevin's wanted to go live in Northern Ireland, he can go and work with. We have a CRS elite coach, Richard McEwen. Him and his family owned that Desert Martin racetrack that was once on the MXGP circuit. So, what we want to be able to do is not only fill. I hate to sound like the movie Robots with Robin Williams, right? See a need, fill a need. But
Yeah.
if you think about it, people who own tracks, they need ways to differentiate their facilities. If you look at the facilities, they want to make sure that they're providing a good product and a service for their parents and their riders. You want parents and riders that don't want to waste their time nor their money. Well, now I could have a coach. They can go anywhere in the world that they want to live and already have a job when they get there.
Yep.
So it'll go live in January. Like I said, we're going to be very specific on who we make eligible for the coaching. We've been very specific on the way that we've kind of marketed and who we'd be willing to work with. And we've got a really good short list right now. So I'm excited about that. But it's been really busy. It's been the last couple of years. And we're actually going to go, we're looking at negotiating a few track deals in August. We're going to Europe for 3 months, or excuse me, for 3 weeks before we go out for 3 months, building some performance facilities. We're going to be going to Rome, actually heading to Paris, and then we're going to be working on a deal in Spain. So lots in the works. Usually about 2 years out is what we're working on. So it's been busy, but it's been good.
Lots of ins and outs. Lots of ins and outs.
Yep. But we're very focused on trying to give these parents a more of a definitive path from where they're at, especially 65, 85 riders.
Yeah.
I want those parents to have the same hope that some kid who's playing football or baseball realizes, hey, there's minor leagues and major leagues, and then there's double A, and then there's triple A, then there's majors,
we're gonna need the powers that be to get the legitimate path straightened out here and not change it every 3 weeks. So
yeah, that would be that part's difficult. That I look at it as what I want to try to do is be able to provide the parents up to the point of going pro. Like, for example,
Yeah.
I love the idea that the age has been moved to 18. And let me explain why. If you were a pro in October when MX Sports and Feld decided that they were going to merge, you're pretty much screwed 6 ways sideways.
Yep.
Because there's no way that you could change your fitness program to be able to recover from the season that just ended and then get ready to race January through October.
Yep.
If I've got an athlete that's 14, 15 years old, I've got 3 years to develop them to be able to race for 10 months at a time. The only thing that's going to be a little bit of a curveball, and we're all going to be sitting and waiting, if World Supercross goes well, then you'll see the relationship with Feld and MX Sports. You'll see that you'll see it continue to coexist, even though it's very volatile.
Mm-hmm.
If the World Supercross goes away, you can expect that Feld and the MX Sports will divorce almost immediately and overnight. So if I'm developing an athlete right now, they've got to be ready to currently go 10 months when they turn 18. If World Supercross goes away, now we go back to, are you a Supercross specialist? Or are you a motocross specialist?
But
the
that won't.
thing that's going to be, go ahead, excuse me.
No. They won't be able to divorce though, depending upon how long the TV contract is, right?
Contracts are only made to when things go wrong. You know,
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
we've heard we've heard a lot of information. You know, the reason why the contracts got, or the promoters merged, was to appease the TV contract.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. But if you look at the attrition rate, I mean, we could look at it right now in the 450 class, 3 rounds in, right? You don't see Roxon out there, even though I don't think he was planning on racing anyways. You've got Sexton that's banged up. You can go through all the different riders, and it's the same thing every year. Look at Supercross halfway through, how many people were out injured, both classes, or, you know, both size bikes. So eventually this is going to catch up where the injury rate is going to decimate the selling package of who's actually on the TV.
Yeah.
You know, we keep hearing the reason why they integrated was because NBC or Peacock threw in that extra 12 or $15 million. I don't believe that that's the full story. I just think that's the convenient message. Because we've heard that there's a lot of turmoil behind the scenes in regards to like the SMX rounds. There's been a lot of arguments as who gets to decide where that venue is, et cetera, et cetera. So if you look at you look at NASCAR's affiliation with AMA and MX Sports, isn't it interesting that all the SMX rounds are at NASCAR and drag race locations?
Look,
Coincidence?
Look,
Not really.
hey, look, before we go too far into this, I just want to say, entertainment purposes only. This is not a fact or truth or any, whatever the kids are saying on TikTok these days about. We're TLR tinfoil hatting here. We don't have any information.
Absolutely.
We don't know anything. We're just a bunch of idiots on the internet.
Yeah, it's just one of those situations where I just like to sit back and bench race about what is, what isn't. You know, to me, I always like to look at like business in general. You know, whether you want to talk politics or you want to look at how did Uber get so big, or how did, you know, trying to think Uber and Amazon, excuse me, that was the other one. I was having a brain fart.
Amazon's easy. I can explain that to you if you don't know the backstory on that. So Jeff,
No, I study it all the time, but the idea is I look at our sport the same way. Like we're looking at Uber going, how do we get here? And it's kind of cool. And then you have Uber Eats, and you have Amazon that now has Amazon everything. And then I just look at motocross, supercross and go, okay, man, let's open up a cold beverage and let's just spitball. What do you think's happening? If I look at the last 2 years with World Supercross and then the way the promoters, the way that they merged, that's all I'm talking about here tonight is just speculation on what we've seen.
You're just being a crazy conspiracy theorist. This was talked
Absolutely.
about years before that. Like the SMX playoffs were coming years and years before that. It's fine. It wasn't had nothing to do with World Supercross, right? And
yeah,
I'll tell you what. Though, we could talk about that for a second though. What do you think about the World Supercross here? Because I was very high when it came in. Then obviously it had its oopsies, we'll call it. And then we changed ownership, and now this year we've got 4 or 5 rounds? I can't remember. Spanning the globe. They are doing a good job of doing that. Like we're Australia and Middle East and Canada and Brazil, isn't it? Is it Brazil? Venezuela? One of the two. And South Africa. So, like, good World Supercross for being literally all over the world. I'm nervous because we've already had some kind of oopsies with this new management, too, this year. Like, London was announced, and then all of a sudden London wasn't happening. And then, I don't know. Like, color me skeptical at this point as to how this is going to work out. I'm optimistic of, hopefully it will because of the people that own it, but I'm still nervous that it won't fully see what I thought it could be at some point.
Yeah, it's a good point. If you look at the series, October Malaysia, November Buenos Aires, Canada in November, Australia in November, and then South Africa in December. So, the biggest challenge is, again, we're going to put on our tinfoil cap here. You got to remember when a venue gets established and then all of a sudden it gets taken off the calendar, you have to ask yourself what caused it to get rescinded. Because the biggest challenge is always finding a venue, a date that fits. But with the way that they're doing this, and we see this quite a bit in the world of triathlon. You know, it used to be you had a governing body. It was called WTS, World Triathlon Series. They were a specific distance of racing. They were Olympic distance. They got involved with the Olympics, and then you had to kiss their ass to get points to be able to get eligible to be selected to the team to go to the Olympics. Then outside of that, you had Ironman. Those were the only two entities. One was for the Olympics, one was for Ironman. Well, in the last 5 years, there's been 4 different organizations that have gotten started.
Oh, wow.
So now, what is it that you've got? Competition raises quality, lowers the price, increases competition. Unfortunately, in the motocross world, you have 2 monopolies.
Yeah.
And we know what monopolies do. So when I see a venue come on the schedule, then go off the schedule, and the people who are current owners are multi-billionaires, it's not a lack of funding. There's got to be a political agenda behind the scenes where a venue is getting taken away, and we're never going to be privy to the why behind it. I don't know the new billionaires. I don't think you'll be able to get them on the show and talk about it, right? But when you see, because of statutes of limitation and all these other legalities, but when you get a venue when you've got guys with that kind of money, when they establish a date and a venue, and then it all of a sudden changes, that's a big question mark for me. If I was doing it on a shoestring budget, and the venue needed me to make a $500,000 deposit on the stadium, and I've only I'm working on $1 million budget total, well, I can't afford to do that. These guys have bottomless pits, bottomless pockets. These are guys that have literally bought soccer teams and football teams, whatever part of the world you're in, and literally took them to the top. You think they can't do that in motocross?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me. So because of that, that's what caused such an about turn of events with MX Sports and Feld. You're dealing with billionaires now. You're not playing with some guys that had a startup idea. These are guys that I'm only predicting here. Haven't had a cold beer with any of them. I'm predicting they're sitting down and they're stepping back and going, okay, where's our biggest opportunities to put a stamp on this whole process? And when they do, it's going to be an exclamation point. And when they do it, they're going to do it right. Now, the hard part about it is they've got to overcome exactly your apprehension, the same trepidation that every team that's gotten involved with it originally. Some of them, you probably know more about it than I do because Kevin went over there, but who's been paid, who hasn't gotten paid, what was promised, what wasn't delivered on. You got to cover those back boo-boos, if you will, like you said earlier.
Yeah, that was a big situation there in the early days, was guys not getting paid because they were paying the teams, and then the teams are negotiating with the guys, and that was a whole debacle there.
But think about what you just said right there. At least the promoters did pay the teams.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not the teams forwarded that money doesn't make it the series' fault.
Yeah.
And I think they got a lot of blame for stuff that wasn't really theirs to own.
Yeah.
But again, we as fans are not privy to those contracts, so we're having to go. This is another thing that you've been preaching from the top of every mountaintop you can get on top of. If they were a little bit more transparent, we're not asking for confidential information, but if they were more transparent, you wouldn't be like second guessing, is it the team shafting the riders?
Yeah.
Because we're hearing that the series paid the teams, but how is that the series problem on how the money's distributed? And of course, that's based on how it was negotiated and the contract signed.
Yep.
So you could swim in the circle all day long.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. It's such an interesting thing. Now, with that being said, too, and you're privy to some information that I am, too, I don't believe any of the stadiums that they're going to requires $500,000 down, because I know what speculatively, I have a pretty good idea of what Feld pays for a lot of the stadiums here, and it's not $500,000 for some of the best stadiums in the United States. So I can't believe that World Supercross is paying a whole bunch more than that. But yeah, so I don't know. There's, like I said, I'm hopeful and optimistic that they get that thing really off the ground and going. But then, like I said, there's all sorts of, like, for example, they've been using Tomac in all of their advertisement stuff. Tomac's going to KTM. He isn't riding there this year. Like, he's not going to be allowed to go do that World Supercross stuff.
How do you know that?
Because KTM won't support it.
But that doesn't mean another team over there won't.
Yeah, but if he's signing to KTM, KTM won't let him go. Zero chance.
But think about this though. They needed Tomac. Well, I was gonna say KTM needed Tomac more than Tomac needed KTM, but Tomac really had no place to go because of the musical chairs.
Yep.
Nobody thought that Webb was going to win the championship. Nobody thought J Coupe would do well enough to get an automatic renewal.
Yeah.
And Tomac kept telling Yamaha he was going to retire. So it was Deegan's moving up, taking the lion's share of the money. Oh, shoot, we have no money for Tomac.
Yep.
I'm just wondering if Tomac didn't already have that in part of his negotiations that, hey, look, I'm already obligated to this. If you're bringing me on, you've got to bring this with you.
Maybe.
What do you think?
I don't think so. Let me put it this way. It will truly, truly shock me if he ends up going. Now, with that being said, I have heard through the grapevine, and we'll TLR tinfoil hat this here, because the TLR tinfoil hat has kind of been a blanket statement for our kind of silly season talk on the show here recently, because there's been a lot of it.
Sure.
I've heard the high possibility of Anderson to Hep, and I've heard the high possibility that Anderson's going to go race World Supercross because of Hep's involvement too. So I don't know for sure, because Anderson's been linked to Ducati also. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. But if he does go to Hep, I could very much see him going and doing World Supercross rounds, which again, that's another big name for World Supercross to have there outside of Kenny. So I could see it. Now, the other interesting thing me and DB just talked about a little bit is that there's been rumors floating around that in this offseason, Hayden is going to go do some overseas races on a 450. So if that happens, Star obviously has been known to send dudes to do World Supercross, even though they're not directly related or directly involved with it, but they've been known to send that. So there's a potential, again, all speculative here, that we could see Danger Boy on a 450 at a World Supercross round or two.
Well, for the amount of money he's going to get paid, he's going to, he's kind of on that war path like Jeremy McGrath and those guys in the heyday.
Yeah.
He'll get whatever he wants.
Yeah, but can you imagine, like, they go to the World Supercross guys, they're like, hey, we want to race, we need, 100 G's. They're going to stroke that check, because there isn't, I mean, I guess you could say outside of Jet, there isn't a bigger name you could put on that track for your event. There is not a bigger, and even Jet, it's like questionable. As much of a Jet homer as I am, when you go to representation and popularity, it's really close between Jet and Danger Boy. So if I'm World Supercross and they come in and say, hey, we'll do 2 rounds, we need $250K, I am writing that check as fast as humanly effing possible, with a contract that says if you fuck me on this, you owe me an ungodly amount of money.
Yeah. Well, I think I have to agree with you 100%. Again, you got to remember who owns the World Supercross series. And they know how to garner those $1 million athletes. They've done it when they put these teams together. Here's what I think is going to be interesting is somebody like that. When I say somebody like that, I'm talking about those 2 very young investors that got involved with World Supercross. Think about, they will roll the red carpet out and treat these athletes, these riders that we love and adore. They will treat them the way they're supposed to be treated.
Oh, yeah.
And you talking about, this is why, again, tinfoil hat here. If you don't think that MX Sports and Feld are scared that they're going to go see how they can be treated properly, because we've already heard over the years the big numbers of Bursey and Emmett going over there and McGrath going over there and even Ricky a few times. But think about that. All of a sudden, some of our top guys start to see the way they should be treated, because they weren't treated that good at MXGPs, right?
Yep.
They haven't been treated that well when they've come over to the States racing outdoors. They haven't been treated the best when they go to Supercross. Now all of a sudden you've got these 2 gentlemen who say, hey, wait a second, we're going to treat them, for lack of better terminology, like royalty. They're going to treat them, they're going to wine them, they're going to dine them. Their check's they're not going to have to wait to get paid. How many times have you heard from people that are still waiting for their outdoor national check that they haven't received?
A lot.
A lot. And again, just talking to riders, that's not, hearsay. It's not creating false rumors. Talk to some of the riders that are like, where the hell's my money?
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, all of a sudden now you've got these guys. The one that comes to mind, as you just mentioned, would be Deegan. When Deegan goes over there, because Deegan hasn't had the experience. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Even when he was on 85s, he never went over and did anything in Europe.
No, not that I know of. He has not been to Europe or anywhere abroad racing, as far as I'm aware of, and I'm sure the comments will come in and slay us if we're wrong. But as far as I know,
no, that would be great. Because when I was working with Logan Best, and when Logan was on 85s, we were riding for Yamaha.
I mean, the kid that got booted from Star because Deegan was going there.
Yeah, but everybody said I was full of shit, right?
Well,
so
we're just crazy internet people, so no, we don't know anything.
Yeah, exactly. But when I was working with Logan Best, our competition was Hayden Deegan on KTM, Daxton Bennett, and Casey Cochran.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at the year, like Logan Best did get to go 1 year, but because I was kind of plugged in with that, like last year my rider Chase DeShiel went. I, for the best of my memory, I don't remember Deegan ever going over there. So I think this would be literally his first time going overseas to race. And like you said, he's not going to have to worry about getting his money. He's not going to have to worry about where he's going to be eating and sleeping. He's going to be treated absolutely like a king over there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that taste is going to get in his mouth. I haven't spoken to Tomac today. Maybe you have, but do you remember him ever saying anything negative about it? I haven't talked to Roxon today. I don't hear him saying anything negative about the way he got treated at World Supercross.
No, and maybe if I get Eric on later, I'll ask him because I know he's got some insights with a few of these guys, so he might have some conversations about that. Because I do know that they. And maybe it's not all the guys, right? I don't remember what Kev said or if Kev said anything. Because Kev did go and do a few rounds. Like the first or second year, whatever. I don't remember him having anything overly negative to talk about. His deal wasn't fantastic. But I do know that I've heard through the grapevine that like the top talent like that, like they really do a good job to make sure that they're taken care of, we'll say. Like you're met at the airport and you're taken where you needed to go and taken where you need to be, and it's not like you're figuring this out on your own. Like it's like, hey,
right,
we got this set up, we're ready to go, which again is how it should be. Absolutely. 100% how it should be. Just like with Formula One, MotoGP, those kind of guys. Like those guys aren't showing up somewhere and not knowing where they're going or not having people to take them where they're going or anything like that. Like it is taken care of for them as it should be for these guys. So it shouldn't be Zach Osborne, Turkey, whatever year that was of him sleeping in a tent at the track because that was all the option he had.
Exactly. Well, and it goes full circle, like back to the triathlon side of things. As soon as these other governing bodies and these other associations came in, that's exactly what happened.
Yep.
Now there's all kinds of you're getting picked up at the airport, you're being taken to the athlete hotel, you're being provided amenities to swim, bike, and run, to warm up, cool down, food's provided, the media's there. It's just, hate to say it, but when there's not a monopoly, competition raises the quality, improves the competition, and lowers the price.
Yep.
So in the for the stars, it makes it more profitable for them because, like, for example, now that we have T100, we have Ironman, we have all these others. Now what these different promoters are doing is they're saying, okay, Travis, I'm T100. I will give you a guaranteed contract, and if you'll race our 6 races. And then you've got Ironman going, no, Trav, we'll offer you more money. So now you got people that are bidding for your services. So instead of making 75 grand, this guy's offering 100 grand, and this guy, oh wait, you're getting 100, I'll offer you 150. Competition drives up the profitability for the athlete, which is obviously the attraction for all of us to fill up the stands.
Yep. 100%.
Pretty straightforward model.
100%. So, all right, let's talk a little bit of racing here, Coach.
Yes, sir.
So we had Highpoint yesterday. I told you we were going to talk a little bit more 450 based here. So
250 or 450?
Or I'm sorry, yeah, 250. Jesus, guys, it's been a long day.
No,
dude.
that's okay.
It's been a
No,
long
that's
day.
okay.
So let's talk Deegan here. So one of the things with Deegan, and I said this last week after Hymas beat him both motos, I was like, man, maybe we're gonna see the same Deegan we saw last summer, which is comes in like a bat out of hell, goes 1-1, 1-1, then goes 2-2 or whatever, and then kind of floats around that 2-3, 2-3, 2-3, maybe gets another 1-2 or 1-3, and then you get towards the end of the season, and then he turns it back up and gets a 1-1, 1-1. Then I watched yesterday, and I went, oop, I might be wrong. It might have just been a flash in the pan with Hymas last week. So what do you think we're going to see here going forward with Deegan for the rest of this season? Are we seeing a domination outside of a stray moto here or there that somebody else wins, or like what do you think we're going to see here?
I'd have to go with the latter part. I just think Deegan, the whole bike situation, it's going to suck. He's going to have a phenomenal summer. It'll be that one race, that one weekend that was less than ideal.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with, I think it was either Weege or James on the show talking about the idea that since the pressure is off for a perfect season, it actually is going to work to his being Deegan's advantage, because now he's out to prove a point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not going to get the perfect season. I hate to use the word pressure because I think pressure is a privilege, and Deegan loves it. He eats it for breakfast. But I do think that it's like, okay, bitches, I'm not going to be able to go perfect season, but I can. They even said it in the show, and I agreed with them as soon as they said it. You can reset the start button, and how many consecutive motos can he go undefeated? Jet's in the exact same boat.
Mm-hmm.
To answer your question, I think Deegan's going to go on a rampage, and here's the reason why. I don't know if Deegan and Jet are drinking from the same coffee cup, but do you notice how Jet doesn't need to win by 30 seconds anymore? He's like, okay, if I win by 5, I still win.
Yep.
So people get close. He surges. He gets 5-6 seconds. He settles. He makes a mistake or two. They get down to 2 to 3. He pushes it back out. He doesn't feel the need to continue to keep storming.
Yep.
I feel like Deegan's done the same thing. Here's a question that I want to pose to you and all the listeners, particularly those that are members. High five, knuckle punch. Thank you for being a member. Think about this question. You've got Hayden Deegan that's only 19 years old racing against, how many time world champion is Vial at 24 years old?
Twice.
Okay, 2-time world champion, 5 years older, and he just beat Vial by almost 20 seconds.
Dude,
that's insane.
I will tell you what, I've started talking about this, and I'm going to talk about this more and more as we go through this summer. The fact that Vial is now in his 3rd outdoor season here and has quite literally done nothing, in my opinion, kind of shows how they fluff up the MX2 class over there. And, like, especially those 2 years Vial won, there wasn't anybody racing him. Like, Gertz was the only guy racing him, and Gertz is not a fantastic 450 guy. Great rider. Again, no hate comms for these guys. They're all way better than I'll ever be. But in the grand scheme of pro riders, like, Gertz is not that great. And that's who Vial beat. The other thing I've been saying, and I'm going to continue to preach this too, those KTM bikes over there are fucking cheater bikes, dude. Especially in the 250 class. The 450's not as much, but especially in that 250 class. Those 250 KTMs are fucking cheater bikes. That's why those guys always yank the starts. That's why those guys are constantly the man, the guy, the winner on those KTM brand bikes, whether it's a Husky or a Gas or an actual KTM. And that's what I think we're seeing from Vial. And then Vial comes over here, and the equipment is much, much closer, per se. And in fact, over here, it's like, you go like basically like Star, PC, Honda, KTM, Husky, Gas, whatever. And it's like, wow, he is just... Of course, I think... this is my take on this now. I really think Tom's career has kind of peaked here. He's gotten 2 250 Supercross titles, so he has to move up. They were both kind of, in essence, lucked into, per se, by some consistency and some good luck going his way. And now he's going to go into the 450s, and like, man, dude, Tom, to me, is an 8 to 12th place 450 dude is it. Like, I don't see him any better than that, to be honest with you. So,
Does he have to go 450 because of did he point out?
so there is no longer any pointing out, but when you win a
Okay.
Supercross, the new rule, and you always gotta check this every year because they change it constantly. The new rule is if you win a Supercross title, you get 1 year to defend. If you defend and win, you go up. If you defend and don't win, but you haven't been in the class for 4 years, you basically get like 4 years in the class unless you go back-to-back titles. If you go back-to-back titles, you got to move up. If you don't go back-to-back titles, you get 4 years in the class, is how the rule is worded at this current moment. So because he went back-to-back titles, he has to move to 450s next year.
And do we know for a fact that KTM's going to offer him a 450 ride with Sexton coming over and Plessinger there?
Everything I've heard is they're going to go 3 450s with AP, Chase, and Vial, and then 1 250 with Juju.
Do you know, is that just a 1 year extension for Vial?
I have zero idea on that part.
Because I would think that if his contract requires it, right, and we know there's a lot of stipulations in that contract, if he's essentially forced out of the class and his contract allows him, I mean, would you put a lot of money into him at a 450 level?
No,
based on what you've seen so far?
Absolutely not. So the way I think my TLR tinfoil hat on how this worked, right, is KTM was in the waiting game. They were trying to swoon Sexton to stay. Sexton didn't want to stay. They panicked because they're like, holy shit, if Sexton leaves, we basically have nobody. AP was picking it up mid to late Supercross. So that would be why the AP contract fell first, because they basically panicked and went, shit, we got to sign somebody who's halfway decent. Let's keep AP here. So they signed AP early. Then they realized that Sexton was leaving, and like for sure, and they were like, okay, shit, we no longer have a number one dude. Tom looked like he was going to win the title. They're like, okay, well, if Tom wins the title, that's great, but we still don't have a number one dude. The Tomac situation arises. They go, okay, here's our chance at a number one guy. We got to get him. So they sign Tomac. And then they basically go, okay, look, if for some reason Vial wins this title, we will keep him on a 450 deal. And to be honest, what I think is going to happen is I bet Vial is going to get a 2-year deal. I bet AP will ride next year, and then AP is out. No matter what AP does next year, barring winning a title next year, AP will be out after next year. Because AP with KTM for all these years, as far as my knowledge goes, has been literally single-year deals, year by year, year by year, year by year, year by year. So
you're exactly correct.
So I have a strong hunch. I assume, from what I know, Tomac's going with a 2-year deal, so he's there for 26 and 27. I assume Vial's going to get a 2-year deal, so 26 and 27. AP, as far as I know, is a single year. Maybe he was a 2-year, though.
Vial's a 2-year deal? I think on 250s it was a 2-year deal. That's why I'm questioning the going to 450. I think it'd be a 1 year.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you know, did he have a 2-year deal on the 250 here, or a 3-year deal where he was
250
contracted through next year? Because if that's the case, then I assume they're just bumping his pay a little bit and moving him to 450s, and it's still the same deal.
I would be lying to you if I knew he had a 2 or 3-year deal, but based on everything that we've been saying, it sounds like he had a 3-year deal, because they're obviously having to honor that for him to go to the 450.
Yeah.
But if you look at the musical chairs, right, Tomac was the top guy that they wanted at Ducati. I think when Tomac thought that he was kind of his ship had sailed, he was entertaining doing Ducati. Then he goes out and he races and says, holy shit, I'm competitive. And all of a sudden he found himself, like we said at the beginning of our conversation together, right? He found himself in musical chairs.
Yep.
Odd man out, because Deegan's getting a boatload. J. Coop, his contract renewed. And of course, Webb's contract renewed. Obviously, you don't have Tomac, who anticipated that. Yamaha didn't anticipate it. I think he was pretty cool going over to Ducati because he's thinking, all right, here's my swan song. I can get paid a good amount of money, be part of this history of bringing a program on.
Yeah.
Then he saw he was competitive and said, I don't want to develop a program. I want to go to an established one. And like we all heard, he almost ended up unemployed. If
Yeah.
Sexton hadn't left, where else was he going to go? Tomac.
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
That's
well,
what makes this so interesting.
Well, my understanding is he could have stayed, but the deal they offered him was very low, from my understanding. And which in my case I laugh anyway, because I go, have you looked at KTM's financials recently? It doesn't look great. So
No.
like, are you really going to get
No.
paid the money they say they're going to pay you? I don't know. I've got a conspiracy theory about Sexton not getting paid, and that's why we're not seeing him. So I don't know. There's a whole bunch of moving parts to this that I'm just like, I can't wait to hear how this all plays out. So
Yeah, but think about this. The reason why I knew that Sexton was going to Cowie was as soon as Levi Kitchens said that he re-upped for 2 years with PC, because he was supposed to get the 450 spot at Cowie.
Yeah.
When he re-upped at PC, that's when I knew that the Cowie spot was being filled by Sexton.
Yep.
Now Tomac lost that as a trump card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because initially nobody, including Yamaha, thought that Tomac was coming back. He starts racing well. Now he decides he wants to come back. Well, Yamaha's coffers are full or spent. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Honda not going anywhere. Then Tomac hears about Jet's contract. It's a 5-year deal, right? That's going to be announced here soon.
Yep.
That's a 5-year deal. So that's where Tomac came back asking for a ridiculous amount of money, because he wanted as much money as Jet was asking for.
Mm-hmm.
But he only wanted a 2-year deal. They're like, well, we're not going to pay you that amount of money. So then he was asking too much money. Musical chairs had ended. Yamaha was empty. Honda was full. Cowie was now bringing in Sexton.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to go race for Club. He's not going to go race for Heb Suzuki. He's not going to go race for, who's Josh Hill riding for? Tedder?
Yeah.
I tried to think of the top privateer guys, right? Because Tedder did a great job, went and got some factory equipment, and Josh was kicking ass on it.
Mm-hmm.
So all joking aside, if you go through the different colors, Husqvarna is going away. So you Husqvarna is going to go away. Gas will stay.
So
and that's just based on
Gas is going to be RJ and Mookie then? I've heard
Mookie's moving. Yeah, Mookie's moving on. RJ goes to Gas, and Cochran stays for Gas 250. So
wait, Mookie's moving. So you think Mookie's going to Triumph? Because I heard he wasn't.
Triumph for Ducati. He's on the short list for those. I think Anderson, like you said earlier, Anderson now that Tomac took himself off the list to go to Ducati, you have Barsha that's trying to keep, because of his great relationship with Troy Lee, he's hoping that he gets his foot in the door. But if you're looking at results, neither Anderson nor Barsha have really set the world on fire. So that's what makes Mookie a better purchase for Ducati. Fan favorite, and he had better results. So this is the crazy part. We know that RJ stays because of his contract. He stays he goes gas. Cochran stays 250 gas. Now you've got Mookie as part of the musical chairs. Now, if you're choosing between Mookie, Anderson, and Barsha, who would you pick? You'd have to go Mookie all day long.
I mean, Mookie did win a race this year.
Yes, well, in Mookie, he's like, even this weekend, I mean, besides, I like how James said his brother got punched in the face by Mike Tyson.
That was
so funny.
That was.
Yeah, it was a funny comment, but a painful video to watch him get jacked in the face like that.
Yeah.
But you put all that together, and that's where you, like the old saying goes, you're only good as your last race. That's where I agree with your earlier comment. Anderson to Hep. Anderson goes to Hep. He'll be, sitting there with Roxon, which would be great. If you have Roxon and Anderson that go over and they do the World Supercross Series, that would be great for Hep. It'd be great for World Supercross. Now you start looking at the Ducati makes a lot more sense, because if they put Mookie in there, Barsha hasn't done anything that's really set the world ablaze, other than he's got a great relationship with Troy Lee. But I do know, and you talk a lot to Eric, and so you've got a lot of insight as well, that Ducati program is essentially the old Geico Honda team.
Yes, it is.
When you
from
look
what
at
I understand, because I've heard that Ziggy's working with them, and I don't remember who else. There's been a lot.
Well, Troy Lee went back on David Pingree Whiskey Throttle, and he said that when Ducati approached him, he said the only person he would be willing to work with was Ziggy at Factory Connection.
Okay.
So if you look at Ducati now, right, you've got Ziggy, who I've talked to so many people say him and Bones Bacon from Pro Circuit,
The
two of
best.
the best, right?
Yep.
So the fact that Ducati is like, all right, Troy, who do you want to work with? Troy says, I only want to work with Ziggy.
Yep.
Ziggy goes out and gets all of his technicians that he had from Geico, brings them all over to Ducati. So they're not playing games. I mean, when they come out, I don't know why people are thinking that it's going to be kind of a second tier team. Because if you listen to what Troy said on Ping's show, Ducati has been very specific to Troy and said, if you're not ready to go racing, if you don't think we can win, we don't go race. So just because they sign somebody next year does not mean that we'll see Ducati racing. I think we will, because Troy feels like they're going to be ready. But when was the last time you heard an OEM that said, look, if you don't think we're ready to go racing, let's go ahead and sit it for another year?
Which is interesting because I keep hearing rumblings that bike is not great at certain things. I've heard some rumors of some Supercross tests that have not been stellar, we'll say.
Sure.
So, I don't know. And then you keep hearing weird things too, like they're only going outdoors, they're only going Supercross, like all this crap like that. And I'm like, I don't really know what to believe per se, because like I said, I keep hearing different things from different people. None of it seems to be overly fantastic, which to me just blows my mind, because between the group of Avengers, essentially, like you've said, that are involved with it, combined with what we know about Ducati and how they go racing, I'm kind of just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I don't understand. Because, like, let's face it, you look at Ducati and MotoGP, they came in and they were like, yep, we're here to fuck shit up. And that's what they're doing.
Yep.
I mean, they are literally, it's like, if you're not on a Ducati and MotoGP, you might as well not even race, because
Exactly.
even the privateer teams are like, yep, this bike is by far and large 100 times better than anything else. So I don't.
But think about what you said, though. There's no reason for them to try to jump into Supercross. They've already been racing the MXGPs.
Yeah.
I agree with you. What's the point of even trying to force to Supercross if you've got a year and a half? That's what we've seen out at the MXGPs. We know that there's been R&D for a couple of years before then. It only makes sense that they would show up and go outdoor racing in 26.
Yeah.
But
I'll be interested.
Because think about it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say I'll be interested because I've heard that Cairoli is coming to Redbud to race that Ducati.
Yeah.
So, which of course, obviously, as you know, is my home race, and I will be there. So I'm very interested to see what the setup looks like, how it looks. You know, I will probably, for the most part, be camped out around that rig most of that day to try to kind of see what's happening.
Yep. Well, this is where we get into a little bit behind the scenes. Think about it. That team still has not announced any kind of an ancillary sponsor. So you don't see, for those who listen to David Pingree's interview with Troy Lee, I apologize, it's redundant information, but Troy Lee said he signed a 5-year extension with Red Bull for their different collaborations that they do, like gear, boots, and Troy said that he went to the guy, I apologize, I don't remember his name, the owner of Alpine Star, that's currently running it, rather. And they being Alpine Star and Troy, they did a contract extension for 5 years. So the boots will be Alpine Star, the gear will be TLD, and Troy's got a 5-year extension with Red Bull. So that tells me that the Ducati program is going to go Red Bull with TLD gear.
But that's weird to me too, because the Europe one is on Monster. So how does that work?
Well, because you got to have funding here. I mean, they're running their books as two separate entities altogether.
I suppose.
Right. Well, think about it. Look at in Australia, you still have Boost Mobile supporting Chad Reed. When was the last time you saw Boost Mobile here in the States? Only when Chad was racing.
Also true.
So but that's what's so cool about it, though. That's what I love about Troy Lee. Like he talked about, he's got Sony Pictures is back on board with him. I mean, we've had Nature's Bakery. I mean, how many people can get Ghostbusters to come in at a Feld Supercross race with the vehicle and all the mechanics dressed like Ghostbusters? I mean, if anybody could pull this stuff off, it's Troy. So to me, when Troy said, all right, we've got an extension with Alpine, we have an extension with Red Bull, it doesn't really matter if it's Barsha or whether it's Anderson or if it's Mookie, right? Because Mookie has already bounced around. Whatever team he goes to is what he is, right? Rock star, whatever.
Yeah.
So now you put Mookie over there, you've got some pretty decent results. Mookie is a rock star, obviously tying in with his brother's legacy, which is great. It fits pretty well for what Troy's trying to do there at TLD. There's still some musical chairs though moving around, because that's what I was trying to ask you about earlier. When you look at the fact that Hayden Deegan is systematically winning by just enough that he needs to win by, I was surprised. I was surprised watching the races yesterday. 5 minutes in, he was already literally. If you watch the time clock, 5 minutes in, he was already 5 seconds up on everybody.
Oh yeah. Well,
He was like 35, 40 seconds up on Vial, and Vial's 5 years older.
Yeah, oh yeah.
If you look at, and this is the crazy part, like you say, no disrespect to anybody who's out there, but I mean, just look at Joe Shimoda's 23, Deegan's only 19. So you've got somebody that's 4 years craftier. Now, again, I'm not naive. I realize bikes can play a big role in this, of course, but I don't know, when you're looking at the racecraft of Deegan, because your question originally was last year to this year, I think you've seen a completely different guy. Obviously, he's physically older.
Yeah.
His racecraft is, his athletic maturity is a year older. That's kind of an obvious statement, but what you do with that's a different story.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
he's just killed it.
The thing is, though, is that like the maturity level, and then you compare it to the bikes and stuff. The bikes don't make your consistency with these guys. Like the fact that none of these other guys can consistently go like even 2-2, right? Like, and I thought through the first 2 rounds, okay, cool. We see Shimoda go 2-2, 2-2. I'm like, okay, cool. Joe will at least keep this in range, right? Like, yeah, he lost 6 points. He lost another 6. All right, sweet. Then, like, last week, he goes, whatever. It wasn't great. And so now you're down more than 6 points. And it's like, it works the same way with the 450 class, too. It's like, we're through 6 motos, and both Jet and Deegan have a 25-point lead already, which is unfucking real. Like I was literally talking with Daniel Blair earlier, and I was like, so if Deegan wraps this up like 3 rounds early, do we see him on a 450, for the last couple just for fun? Because at this point, I mean, you look at Vial goes 4-2, Kitchen goes 2-6, Hymas goes 5-3, Marchbanks goes 7-4, Shimoda goes 6-5, Hammaker 3-14, Cochran 11-9, Thrasher 10-10, and Swole goes 14-8. Where is the consistency with these guys? Like, what the fudge is happening? I mean, it's really wild, the dichotomy between what Deegan's doing and what everybody else is doing. And even in the 450 class, it's the same way with Jet and everybody else. So
the staggering part is, we're 4 races in. You've got Deegan with 3 wins. You've got Chance Hymas with 1. Chance is out with a blown out knee, so that's over. So now you start looking at it. If you take Chance Hymas out, right, Garrett Marchbanks is 62 points down in third. You've got Joe Shimoda that's already 42 points down, and we're only 3 races in.
Oh, yeah.
We still have, what do we have, 7 races left?
Yeah, that's like Deegan's, what, 40 what did you say, 42, 44 ahead?
He's 42 points up.
Yeah.
And then you've got Marchbanks the next back at 62.
Yeah.
And it's just, goes back to what you were saying. If we're looking at the Hayden Deegan so far this year compared to the guy last year, again, not to be redundant, but his racecraft has gotten better. His athletic maturity's improved. He's gone through some trials and tribulations that I think he's actually done a great job of actually used to his advantage.
Yeah.
He's not intimidated by it. I mean, look at it. He comes out with, jail gear on. That's how funny he is. But if you keep this out, right, if we're only 6 motos in and he's 42 points up, go just another 2 races.
Mm-hmm.
And he pushes that out to 75, 80 points. Deegan hates to lose, but every race he's just got less and less, and I hate the word pressure, like I said earlier, but every race he's got progressively less pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I've argued with a couple of our mutual friends, not argued, but I've kind of bantered with a couple of our mutual friends. Why would Deegan stay 450 or stay 250 next year for Supercross?
Well, see,
There's no way that Brian's going to let him stay down on a 250. Just the contract value of a 450 is going to surpass almost all the money he could make by winning everything in the 250 class.
well, see, and that's what me and DB were talking about. And DB's under the
Okay.
belief that we're gonna see him do some 450 supercrosses abroad, whether it be
Okay.
Paris or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
he believes if he jumps on that 450, has a few good testing days, goes and does these races and is okay, that he will probably go there for Supercross next year.
See, that's what I've been saying for the last year and a half,
Yeah.
because there's just too much money on the table. And because Deegan, and I don't remember, I think it was DB who actually talked about it, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the success that Deegan's had, and the fact that it's trending better and ahead of what Jet has done, which is incredibly hard to fathom,
Yep.
but you have to look at it. I've been saying it since literally I've been saying it for almost a year and a half, going on 2 years now. There is no reason for Deegan to stay down in the 250 class. They're not interested in, being the winningest 250 rider.
Nope.
They want to break every premier class record that they can and reap the financial benefits associated with it. I mean, hell, Deegan ran out and bought a Lambo after Supercross.
Well, I mean,
Right?
why not? That's what happens when you win
Well,
$1 million.
that's my point. But my point is, they're not motivated by money, but they enjoy the work and the money that they've created.
Yeah.
So I look at Brian, and again, Brian's no fool. And I was talking to Chris Cooksey about this. It's like, so far you can't bet against Brian Deegan because he's batting 100. Every decision he's made everybody that talked against his decision.
Yep.
We all look like we're eating some big black crows.
Yep.
That's for damn sure.
Well, it's
Golly.
like not to keep harping on what me and DB talked about, because obviously the listeners have heard all this, but you didn't. I like I said, DB thinks that Jet will retire before he breaks all the records. Like, he thinks Jet could break all the records, because I was asking him, I was like, do you think Jet is going to actually beat Carmichael's outdoor records? Because you just look at the trajectory he's on, and if he goes, for example, say a career like a Chad Reed or an Eli Tomac, like the amount of years combined with the way he wins, I mean, he's going to get in that realm. We all thought he was crazy when he said he was going after McGrath's 72 wins in Supercross, and it's like, okay, well, let's talk a little crazier here. This son of a gun has won, 19 out of 20 fucking overalls in 450 motocross, and like, if you batch that out over the next 12 years here, because he's only 21, you put him to 33, 34, 35, it's like he very easily could go over the 100 mark of overall wins and get really close, if not surpass, Ricky's records. But there's a ton of pressure on Jet, and I believe at some point it will burn him out. And it already has to an extent there. You've seen it last year. He was kind of getting that, oh, God, I'm kind of burnt out situation. So I kind of agree in a sense with DB of, like, I think there will come a time where he'll have won 3, 4, 5 Supercross championships in a row. He's won however many outdoors he can stay healthy for. He's won every SMX title that he's entered, and he'll have a $50 million in the bank and a $200 million net worth, and be like, fuck it, I'm out. I don't need this anymore. Where, like, with Deegan's been rich his whole life. Like, Brian did a great job with himself back in the day, put himself in a beautiful financial position to allow his kids to do all this shit. Deegan doesn't need the fucking money. They have the money. They will always have the money. They're business savvy enough to continue to make the money. Deegan's here to win races and championships and fuck everybody else.
Yep.
So I could fully agree with you. I could totally see him coming out and going after those actual records. Do I think he'll get there? I think a lot of that depends upon how long Jet goes. Where I think Deegan is really great, and here come the comments, I'm just not sure natural talent ability he is there. And the problem being, right, so what we're essentially seeing here is the modern day version of Deegan as a Ricky Carmichael, which is, I'm just going to outwork and outgut every single one of you. My grit is more than any of you can have. And then you have Jet as the James Stewart esque, which is the natural talent there is just unfreaking believable, right?
Yeah.
The problem being is that Jet is not James. Jet does not hit the ground like James does. He has
Yeah.
enough natural ability and just enough brains working when he's riding to keep him from doing that. I mean, I said it earlier. I said it on the reaction show. Jet's kind of entered his vet rider mentality situation outdoors, right? We saw him have that dumb kid moment last year at Hangtown when he tried to jump that jump and couldn't make it and then wadded himself and cost him his only overall ever in an outdoor race. But then you look at like yesterday, it starts raining. It's slick. It is, he gets a terrible start that second moto. You never saw panic. You never saw riding over the head. You just saw him just, okay, cool. I'm just going to ride my pace, make sure I don't hit the deck because like they were saying on the broadcast even, turning this 5th place finish into a 25th place finish is not a good look. But keeping that 5th place finish, fucking awesome. And that's what he did. He just kept the pace, kept where he was comfortable in a sense, gets to 3rd, ends up getting the overall with a little bit of luck on his side essentially. And like, okay, so he's in his vet rider mentality. And I think when you see that translate to his supercross riding, it's going to be an almost unstoppable force. Because he's got so much natural talent, so much natural speed, that he is faster than all these guys. And he is faster than Deegan. Plain and simple, zero questions asked. You go speed for speed. I don't see Deegan being faster than him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll see it. But I just don't see it. Deegan can out-grit him. And if Deegan's close, like Deegan is willing to go that extra little bit to get him, I think. But I just don't see Deegan having that raw speed that's controllable like Jet does. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. This is all speculative.
No, I don't think you can argue the point, especially when you see him. I'm not going to say he's handing Tomac his ass. That's not what I'm saying. But
he's
the
forcing
fact
him
that
into mistakes. You're absolutely right. He's forcing him into mistakes.
And when was the last time we saw that?
Bingo.
Because the last time we saw it was when Sexton and Eli were battling. Eli only forced Sexton into mistakes. Sexton never forced Tomac into a mistake.
Yep.
So, and here's what's even more frightening is Jet is still struggling with bike setup. He's still not even remotely comfortable on that bike.
Yep.
So look at yesterday, not comfortable with the bike setup, going out with some, he didn't have roll-offs like Tomac did. Like you said, adjusted on the fly. You could see he was frustrated that they cut the race short. Of course, I think at that point he was frustrated because he thought he lost the overall.
Yeah.
And we could argue about, again, red flagging it. I didn't see any radar, so I don't want to be an armchair quarterback, but it's just frustrating. They're shortening the amount of whoops. Now they've cut a moto short because it was hot. Now we're cutting short because of so-called lightning. Again, I don't want to be judgmental. I didn't see it, but it's just weird. I don't know. It's outdoors. Let's go race. But with that being said, Tomac on a bike that he's comfortable with, and then Jet's on something he's still trying to sort out, road and conditions that were so weird, right? When's the last time you saw a race where the sun was out and literally 30 seconds after the gate drops, it looks like, Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz is coming in.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That was
but
wild.
he, like I said, didn't panic and everything else rode well. Now let's put 2 and 2 together, a track that's in decent shape and he's comfortable with the bike, but he's not beating me. He's beating Tomac. He's beating J Coop. You got to give J Coop credit. You got to give Cooper Webb credit. Goes down in the first turn and comes back to 11th.
Yeah.
In those conditions, that was insane.
Yep.
For somebody who doesn't give two shits about outdoors, he's been fun to watch outdoors.
Bro, I'm
Blessinger's
so Cooper Webb happy this summer because it's just like, I'm just happy to be here. I love the fact that he's openly like, yeah, dude, Star pays J Coop and Tomac to win outdoor motos. I'm just here to party. Like that's the
exactly.
best thing ever.
Well, and the crazy part about it is, I think J Coop's been a pleasant surprise for everybody because how do you not like to watch J Coop race? He may not have the most dynamic personality, and that's okay. He doesn't need to appease us.
Yeah.
When you're married to the Tyson chicken family, you don't have to worry about what anybody else thinks or says. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's still flying private. He doesn't care what anyone's opinion is. He may not have a polished personality, but He's got a ring on his finger that a lot of us don't have the benefits of. So,
Yep.
all joking aside, it's when you put all that together and then you go back to the conversation about Jet, it's pretty hard to argue that you're going to see Hayden Deegan come out next year and just be able to put the hammer down and start top 10. You see Deegan just running circles around a Plessinger? No. Do you see him running circles around Sexton? No. Do you see him running circles around Tomac? No. Do you see him running circles around, and I'd love to see, you may have some insight, who's faster at the test track? Now, of course, 254 first versus 450 with J Coop, but I just don't see him being able to walk through all 5 or 6 of those guys before they get to Hunter, get to Eli, and then get to Jet.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's still your top 3 at the end of the summer.
Yeah.
Prado, Anderson, those guys are struggling with the bike, but I don't see Deegan just slicing right through them when they're in their prime. Maybe now because they're both struggling with the bike, but when you start getting into those top 5, I have to agree with you. Is Deegan unbelievable? Yes. But as we've all said, reminds me of when AC went to the 250 class. He says, those guys hit you as if you slept with their girlfriend last night.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome. Can you imagine what the 450 class is going to be like?
Oh, yeah.
Whew.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Yep. Yeah, so, I mean, going through these 250 guys, I mean, who's the letdown for you this summer? Like,
well, the hard part is, and I don't want to reiterate what you said, I'm just really baffled by the inconsistencies.
blows my mind.
Every single moto outdoors this year outside of Deegan has been very inconsistent. Now, we had the first 4 motos. It was great, right?
Yep.
Hayden went 1-1. Joe went 2-2.
Yep.
Or was it Hymas? I think it was Joe.
No, it was Joe. It was Joe. You're right.
Yeah. Then Hymas finally gets a weekend together.
Mm-hmm.
Now his knee's out.
That's a bummer.
That's a real bummer. Then you look at the idea of like Garrett Marchbanks. If we were going to play bingo at the beginning of outdoors, would anybody have thought that Garrett would be that high up there consistently? Only because of his size, not because of his riding talent. Chris says it all the time. He's much better built for a 450, but he had to go where there was an opportunity. So
Mm-hmm.
I would have not on my bingo card had Garrett Marchbanks as the top outdoor dude. I think, and maybe the members will disagree with me, but I really thought Levi Kitchen would have been the top guy at Cowie outdoors.
Dude, talk about shitting the bed.
I mean, even yesterday, 2.6.
Yeah.
Second in the first moto. Now, again, well, no, that's right. Theirs wasn't a mud moto like the 450 was.
No, it was not.
I just don't get it.
I don't
You've
either.
got Seth. He went 314, but he's got a jacked up shoulder.
Yep.
Like you say, biggest disappointment, I would say the whole 250 class, not disappointment, just confused. But like JT Money said on the broadcast, it's almost as if moto, these guys are so talented. It's all about the start.
Yeah.
And that goes, I mean, look at Ty Masterpool goes 8:17, and then Mikkel goes 19:7 right behind him.
Mm-hmm.
The only person you got to give credit for is Thrasher goes 10:10 consistently, and Volan goes 13:13. They're the only guys beside Deegan that match their first moto.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's absolutely wild. And Marchbanks, the thing with Marchbanks is like, dude, if I would love to see him yank a start and just see what he does, because he is far surpassing my expectations outdoors here. Kitchen is very underwhelming in my opinion. Casey Cochran has been doing what he needs to do as far as I'm concerned. He's yanking great starts. Yes, he's fading to 7, 8, 9, 10, but like, okay. Thrasher is doing absolutely Nate Thrasher things. Like you said, Hammaker's got one shoulder. Joe, I don't know what's been going on with Joe here. Maybe they're yanking Joe's parts because he's going back to pro circuit. I'm not sure.
Who do you think Joe bumps at PC?
Probably Ty.
I just don't know how they could keep Ty.
Yeah, Ty is gone. And Ty, you want to talk about another underwhelming thing? Masterpool there, 100%. Like, what? WTF? And I've heard Mitch is completely unhappy with him. Now, again, all this can turn around. Ty bust out 3-4 podiums in a row.
I think it's over. I think it's day late and $1 short.
Probably.
And Well, think about it. You've got Joe that started the season with 2.222,
Yeah.
and then you've got Ty, Mr. Inconsistent. At the
Yeah.
same time, you're fighting for a contract. Even if you come on with Blaze, because you got to, again, this is so, it's funny. It's almost like high school politics, right? What is Joe known for? Takes him
Yep.
a long time to get going, and he
Yeah.
did both. He did neither of those, indoors or outdoors. He got
Yep.
started pretty quickly.
Yep.
So you put all those elements together, and you're like, okay, well, he's proven that he can start strong. He's consistency's paid off.
Yep.
What's your thoughts? Is the Honda 250 power plant better than the Cowies this year?
Ooh, good question. I know from what I understand from a completely showroom floor stock version, yes.
Okay.
Because those Kawasaki's are slow, and the reason that the Kawasaki's are slow in both the 450 and the 250 model is because Kawasaki, from what I understand, got ahead of the curve with the new sound regulations. So
Okay.
the mufflers on both of those are extremely big and choke down the motor to meet the new sound regulations. Now that being said, we're talking factory bikes and stuff, so who knows? I think the PC bike is on par, if not a smidge better than the Honda on the factory version, because I think Mitch definitely has found something with them, especially like
So think.
we'll call it late
So
last
think about
year.
what
But
you're. Think about what you're saying right there. If Mitch knows that he's got a better power plant than the Honda,
mhm,
and Joe's beaten all 17 of his riders,
yeah,
I think you've got your new pick,
it's not
right?
beating
Well, we know Joe's coming over.
Marchbanks, brother. Not beating
Well,
Marchbanks.
he beat Marchbanks in the first two rounds.
I suppose. I guess you're right on that, but
He went 2-2. But this is where, like you're saying, it's like you could just imagine how mad Mitch is going, hey
mhm,
guys, I've worked my tail end off to get you a better power plant, and you're still getting beat by the 250, or you're getting beat by the red bikes.
yeah,
It's like, come on, what the hell are we doing here?
yep,
And so, you know, obviously, well, not obviously, but sounds like it's a pretty much a done deal.
yeah.
With Joe announcing that he is no longer working with Lucas, then that was the deal breaker for him to get the factory ride back at PC.
Which that to me
So
was such an interesting thing too, because yeah, there's just a lot to that I'm like, huh, that's weird.
yeah, well, it's again, politics drives the machine, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. We're all used to it. But
Yep.
what we just want to look at is, I think this will be the end of Ty's career because I don't see any other team wanting to pick him up. I think people are
I
too
mean, he'll go back to
turned
like
off.
what's it called, the Mad Parts Kawasaki or something like that, and then he'll have a couple
I
good.
don't know.
You don't think
I don't
so?
know. No, I think the Black Cloud with dealing with the family issues, and
Mm,
because it's always a package deal, and I think the teams, they talk enough in the pits. It's like he's talented, absolutely, but so is Mitchell Harrison, and so is a lot of these other guys. Where are you? And I know I'm talking 450 class versus 250, but what? And I think all of your listeners would agree with this. Your ability to get a job year after year after year is a lot based on your track record of being able to be worked with.
yeah.
And if you've got a rogue parent, or you've got a rogue family, or there's always something wrong and all you do is complain, you can only get away with that for so long, and then those complaints and the excuses and all that goes with it eventually supersede your talent, because there's going to be at least 10 or 15 guys that are a second off or with your pace. The teams are going to go where they're easy. I'm kind of going to use the word easy, but teams aren't dumb.
Yeah.
When you're pushing a rock up the hill every single Monday morning, because it's always, we're searching bike setup, especially and I think Mitch did a great job this year. You put 6 guys out there, and it's pretty hard to say that it's not the power plant when you've got you've got 3 of your Cowies in the top 5,
Oh
because
yeah.
that's always been the big thing. Oh, the bike stinks, the bike's not there. Well, when 3 of the 5 guys out there can do it, it makes it pretty obvious who can do it and who can't. And this is what's hurting. Because remember back in the day when you couldn't make it at pro circuit, your career was over.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Y-
Now
You
it's
know.
like the Star Yamaha effect. Like if you can't make it at Star, then you're screwed.
Well, and that's what made Levi look so good when he left Star and went over to PC, and picked right up and actually did better when he went to PC.
Yeah.
But that can only work for so long, and then unfortunately it starts to work against you.
Yep. I'll tell you one thing I was thinking about here, and I thought this would be interesting to talk about. The path to 450s for the next several years kind of a dead end in essence. Like, we've really got a backup going here, right? So you run down the list, right? You've got Honda has a long-term deal with Jet. I assume that Hunter still has another 2 or 3 year on his deal, whatever, and the option to stay there, right? So Honda's full. Then you go to Kawasaki. You've got Prado's got a 3-year deal, so he's got 2 more years. And you have, they're going to sign, obviously, Chase to a 2 or 3 year deal. Okay, so Kawasaki's essentially full for the next couple of years. Okay, now we're going to work our way down to KTM. So KTM has AP, what'll be Vial, and then Tomac for a 2-year deal. So for essentially the next couple of years, KTM basically full. Then you run down the next thing. Okay, you've got Gas / Husky, whatever the hell's happening there. Okay, they're going to have 2, but they're going to have RJ and probably Mookie. And I know RJ's probably got at least a year, if not 2 years on it. I'm sure Mookie will sign. Mookie might only sign a 1 year, but he's probably looking for a 2-year deal also. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
Mookie's
full.
not coming back. Mookie's not coming back to Husky. Mookie will be on another team
Okay.
for sure. But I think that you'll see Husky stay with a 450 rider with RJ.
Okay. Then you go to Star. Okay, so Star is going to have Star has
Deegan.
Star has J Coop and Webb for a year or two. And, like, are they going to let any of those guys go, barring if somebody's, like, the next guy, a la Deegan, who Deegan will move up next year. But then the question becomes, with Deegan's contract, okay, does Deegan only ride 450s for 1 year with Star in 27? Does he go 27, 28? Or are we talking, like, 2027, 2028, the Deegan 38 team debuts? That's a big question, but Star still has 2 dudes locked in for essentially the next couple of years in J. Coop and Cooper Webb. Then you go.
I just don't see them tying up J Coop for 2 years.
The only thing with J. Coop, right? And again, I understand everybody's downfall with him of like, dude, he's not winning races. What is the other second tier dude that you are going to have that is going to fast qualifier, race winning capabilities essentially, / you're going to get to the end of the year and you're like, man, he's 3rd, 4th in points. Like, he was there all effing year. Like,
Are you talking about at the end of 26?
yeah, like J. Coop to me is the most perfect second rider for any team, period.
But that's where you've got to look at the 250 guys. Like, for example, that's why I was asking if you're talking about the end of next year, or what year are you looking at going at?
Well, I'm
And
just
here's
looking at
why.
the next couple of years going forward of like these 250 guys. They're all like screwed because
Yeah, but if you go off of what was supposed to happen, right? Levi Kitchen, he was supposed to go up.
Yep.
Chance Hymas, he was supposed to be going up.
Yep.
You look at Garrett Marchbanks, he's looking for a 450 ride.
Yep.
You'll have Shimoda, 2 years, he'll be looking for a 450 ride. Seth
Yep.
Haymaker will be looking for a 250 ride. And that's just the top 10 guys. We still haven't talked about Julian Beaumaire. He's still relatively young.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start getting down. So that's the crazy part is the 450 riders. Yeah, but we could say that you're rolling out Triumph, and then you could say that the Ducati program's coming in. Well, Barsha, if he even gets a 1-year deal, or if he gets a deal, I don't think it'll be more than 1 year. So you're going to have that opening over there. Some of these guys like Deegan, like you said, I do agree with you 100%. I still think he'll do his own team. If he does, that's great.
2027 or
7.
2028? You think 7?
I think 27.
You think
he'll be ready to go?
You think his first? Well, I guess we'll call it speculatively his first full 450 year. They're gonna be on their own program.
I think they will be, but I still believe that he goes full 450 starting next year.
Okay.
I've been on public record as saying that only because there's so much money to be made in the 450 class. So I think he goes that route. But to your point exactly, that's where J. Coop is good. But if you start looking at if these current guys, the Hayden Deegans, he goes up, but you've got the Levi Kitchens. Now, again, you're only as good as your last race weekend. And we were just teasing earlier, Levi Kitchen has probably been one of the biggest disappointments of preseason hype to delivering in the first 3 rounds hasn't been very good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess first 4 rounds you could say, because you've got Hymas with 1 win and Deegan with 3.
Yep.
Still say Garrett Marchbanks is going to be hunting around for a good ride on a 450. And this is what's so crazy is, would you say Garrett is like just setting the world ablaze? No, but what he is he's out there and he's healthy.
Solid
Because,
second dude. Solid
yep,
second
and
dude.
that's where you're giving Mookie. He doesn't set the world on fire, but he's out there every weekend. If you think about it, if you were somebody that was investing in a team,
Mm-hmm.
Roczen, Mookie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's so hard, because Roczen, if he gets a hangnail, he can't ride this week. And I like Roczen. What's I find a little bit, I don't want to be soft and say sad, but I just felt like we never got to see that absolute badass German, with the exception of the year that he rode for Ricky Carmichael and Hart and Huntington RCH team, right?
Yep.
That summer except when his Fort Seal broke out, busted, it blew out rather. He had an undefeated season going, but ever since he got hurt with issue with Cooper Webb, it's like we never got to see that badass German come over and do what we thought he was going to do.
Yep.
So if you look at how many races he's won, you look at how many races he's completed, and then you start looking at Mookie. If I was going next year with the team, I would choose Mookie over Ken Roczen.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, if you look at Ken Roczen last year, he proved everybody wrong. And there's all kinds of jokes. Well, he's on things that allows him to be able to finish Supercross for the first time in how many years?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so what? It's the same for everybody. You can't really use that excuse, because it's like everybody busting Trump's balls about using the tax laws. And like he said in the debate, well, your donors are using the same tax laws that I am, and if you didn't like the tax laws, you would have had them changed by now.
Bingo.
Right? I mean, it's just the same thing here. When certain people want to say, yeah, but Roczen's been able to finish this year because of this, and this. Well, it's the exact same for everybody.
Yep.
And so that's the part that makes all this so interesting. To your point, exactly, the 450s are going to be interesting, because let's just for the sake of the listeners, think about how many of the 450 guys will not be here in a couple of years. Stop and think about that, right?
I'm done. I'm done predicting that, because I've said this now for like 2 years, because I thought for sure by now Barsha, Kenny, Tomac would all be gone. Possibly Anderson too, but I thought all those dudes would be gone, and they're all still here trying to find rides.
And that's because of what we were just joking about, that there's things that extends people's careers and allows them to stay in.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did you hear Chad Reed say it takes him less and less time to get in shape for the season?
Yeah.
Because he's been a pro for so long. He knows what he's got to do. He knows what work needs to be put in.
Yep.
And, whether you want to argue it's peptides or you want to argue it's this or that's extending careers, it's the same for everybody. You can't say anyone has a distinct advantage. It's available to everybody. Everybody's subjected to the same testing or lack thereof. So you have to move on beyond that. That ship has sailed in our sport, because the situation with James Stewart is never going to happen in our sport again.
Yeah.
The amount of money that debacle caused the promoters by not having James Stewart out there. Now, you could argue, why didn't James fill out the therapeutic use exemption? It doesn't matter. He didn't fill it out. He got busted. We were under the tutelage of USADA. 3-year ban, mandatory.
Yep.
I guarantee the promoters, if they added that up, that was tens of millions of dollars of loss on the cover of the magazine sales, TV appearances, TV interviews, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why you've seen a big paradigm shift there.
Mm-hmm.
But think about this. Jet's the youngest one in the 450 class. Hunter, he's around for another 5 to 10 years.
Yep.
Tomac, maybe what, 3, 4?
At most.
Plessinger. But then you start getting, J. Coop is still relatively young, but then you look at Sabachi,
no,
Anderson.
He's not that young, because he came in late. I found this out the other day. He's 27, 28 already.
But he doesn't have any significant injuries.
This is true too.
He'll probably go wear and tear.
He'll probably go to 35 if his career stays on the same trajectory it is.
Yep. And then you
So
look at you look at RJ Hampshire.
mm-hmm,
He's still, even though he seems older because, he's been in the 250 class a long time,
mm-hmm.
he's still, now the only thing with RJ, of course, is injuries and concussions have not been his best friend.
No.
Then you jump down to Cooper. I think he's got I don't see him defending a Supercross title next year. I just don't see it happening.
No, he's never been a
Um,
good defense guy like that.
well, and think about it, in all fairness, the only thing that opened the door was Jet getting hurt.
Yep.
But hey, you got to be in it to win it. I'm not taking it from Cooper. He won it straight up. You race
100%.
who's there on Saturday, and that's all you can do.
100%.
But then you start getting outside the top 10. There's nobody there that's going to shake it up. Like you said earlier, Prado's got a 3-year deal at Cowie.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start looking down outside the top 10 and you start asking yourself, who's going to come back and start displacing those 450s,
Yeah.
the existing spots? This next year, pretty straightforward. 27 is going to get a little bit iffy. Then you get into 28, and it's wide open because there's so many good guys in the 250 class.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like you say, it's just us, you and I, having fun bench racing on what could be. I'm just thankful that we've got Ducati and Triumph coming in. It's
Yep.
going to be sad to see Husky go away.
Yep.
Hopefully it'd be great if they would just absorb them into gas and KTM. Like you said, extend KTM to 3 450s.
Yep.
Maybe extend the 250 to maybe 3 on KTM side.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the idea that Casey Cochran's not going to get screwed out of a ride. That was a very horrendous accident, and a lot of people don't realize how significant that accident was.
Yeah, there's a lot of ins and outs with that one. So, all right. So one last quick topic here, I guess, before we wrap this up.
Sure.
Let's talk Austin Forkner here, man. I've heard rumors there's an expiration date on him where if he's not performing at this point, they're going to essentially pull the plug for the year.
Mhm.
I'll be honest, it's not, the whole year in itself is not going great. And I know part of it is his expectation for the year was to finish every race. Like, let's just get through all of them, which is what he's been essentially doing. However, when you're the winningest 250 guy out there, watching you run around and go, like, for example, this weekend, go 18:37 for 22nd overall, it's a little bit like, ugh, bud, we need a few more spots. Like, so I don't really know what to make of it, because I really want to see, I like Austin, I really want to see him get back to somewhat of his former glory. But at the same time, I'm like, man, this isn't going great. So thoughts on Fork there?
I have to agree with you 100%. I mean, to see a multi-time champion, I mean, he hasn't won a lot of championships because he hasn't finished the season, but,
Yeah.
if you're going off of just simple wins, it is hard to watch him get lapped early in a race.
Yep.
And, no disrespect to him, but Jalek Swoll comes in and is the top Triumph guy and is running in the top 10, both motos this weekend. Welcome back, Jalek.
Great comeback.
Yeah, incredible. But if you're Jordan Smith or you're Forkner, you're going, oh shoot, that's not going to look too good on the resume.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard, like you said, we know that Forkner's original discussion was, let me just get through the season healthy. He wants to finish every race.
Yep.
If the team is going to stick behind him and say that's all we wanted, okay, great. Then you're doing exactly what you wanted. I think the best thing for Forkner is that if Jalek can continue to deliver the goods, that keeps the sponsors happy. So that's going to help keep the funding to keep Forkner there. We do have to remember this guy's coming off of brain surgery, and for some people, they're just trying to learn how to walk and talk, and this guy's hauling ass on a dirt bike. But it is hard when we're using that as a benchmark back in his heyday at Cowie.
Yeah.
But, I say this year he gets a hall pass because they're only trying to keep him out there just to kind of get his athletic durability up, and so far so good.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm not mistaken, at the end of that moto, I think he was lapped, twice?
I don't know. It
wasn't good, that's for sure.
The thing is it's not like he's not crashing either. Like, he is crashing too. He's not crashing, I guess you would say, as hard as he has before, because he's not going out, but it's a tough look. Like, Supercross, I was kind of given a pass the whole time of like, okay, cool, he's just trying to finish, so like, whatever. Now Cole has a theory that because of the brain surgery and stuff, he doesn't process as fast as he used to.
Exactly.
And that may be part of the cause. But then again, I've heard during the week, like, he's pretty fucking good during the week at the test track. So I don't know, man. It is.
Yeah, but
It's a
you gotta
strange
think
thing.
about stress. There's a
Yeah.
lot less stress at the familiar, test track. If you've ever been around somebody who's had a stroke, or you've been around somebody who's had trauma like that, I say this with all of my clients, and some of the listeners may have heard me say this on other public podcasts. I wish everybody had somebody in their family that has diabetes, so that you'd understand that we eat or drink whatever we want, and our pancreas just produces insulin,
Mm-hmm.
and we stay alive.
Yeah.
You're with somebody who's dealing with diabetes, and you realize how literally life and death it is.
Mm-hmm.
Think about stress.
Yeah.
If I were to take somebody fresh out of college and I were to drop them into your company and say, okay, I want you to do what Travs does Monday through Friday, go, they wouldn't make it a week. If any of our listeners are in a relationship, if we took a young person out of high school and said, hey, here's my partner, make it work, they wouldn't last a day. If you've got children, hey, make sure the kids don't kill each other, keep them fed, get them to moto, get them to soccer, get them to school on time, they wouldn't last a day.
Yep.
If you look at our day jobs, right, we all deal with a lot of stress. My point with all of these examples is we've become desensitized to stress. So what now happens is your new norm is a level of stress that, when you have a trauma situation like Faulkner's been through, the body fatigues much quicker.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever had well, everybody's had a virus, right? When you come off of a virus, you notice how quickly you get fatigued mentally and physically.
Yep.
Well, think about something as traumatizing as what he's been through.
Yeah.
So stress is going to fatigue him at an all new level. So that's why I think it's amazing that, considering what he's done and how close he was to significant damage and death and all that goes with it, the idea that he's actually going fast on a dirt bike. And yes, it's not the Faulkner that we see and realize, but I do like the idea that if the team sticks behind him, and knowing that Bobby Hewitt built that team initially to what it is, that's a team based on integrity, which is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
If they said to Faulkner, we just want you to finish the season, if they still have an ounce of Bobby Hewitt's blood in the team, they're going to honor that, and then they'll make a decision at the end of 2026.
Yep.
Because you're never going to find somebody as more forthright and honest than Bobby Hewitt.
Yep.
I still don't understand. I have never seen an industry secret kept as well as I've seen why Bobby Hewitt got fired from Husky, which was his team,
Mm-hmm.
and then Winston goes to Triumph and then gets booted from that team.
Mm-hmm.
And if you spend 1 hour on the internet, you can find out which pro's wife has slept with what team, with what mechanic, but we can't find one piece of information why Bobby Hewitt was booted from Husky or Triumph.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how this industry has kept this secret under wraps. It blows my mind.
Yep.
I've never met a man with more integrity than Bobby Hewitt. And how this has happened not once but twice and nobody knows about it is insane to me.
Mm-hmm.
But that team is based on, you got Jeremy Coker from Star,
Yep.
class act all the way around.
Yep.
You got Scuba Steve over there, class act all the way around.
Yep.
If there's a team that I'd want to ride for, it would damn sure be Triumph. Or I love Troy Lee. I think he's great. I think Mitch is I like Mitch because he's a no BS kind of guy.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's just my kind of personality. If Mitch wants to call me a fucking idiot because I'm doing something dumb, it doesn't mean he doesn't like me as a person. He's just pissed off right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it because he's not afraid to tell you what he thinks, but then he'll go have a beer with you. But that's, I guess we could say, that's growing up in the 80s. That was the kind of stuff that we learned to do. I think anyone who's a listener that grew up in the 80s, we get out of the house until the street lights come on. You tell that to a kid nowadays, they'll call Department of Health Services and
Yep.
have you arrested because you made them stand outside in the heat. But
Mm-hmm.
we drank out of water hoses, we played football, got our face smashed in poop,
Yep.
dog poop. I mean, when I see somebody picking up dog poop nowadays, I'm like, you literally. Michaela and I were getting in the car to go to the gym, and this lady's dog was in our yard, and he went to the restroom, and she grabbed a bag. I said, if you pick that up, I'm going to come out there and smash it in your face. And she goes, see what? And I go, do not pick that poop up. I said, that is fertilizer for my yard. And she just laughed. She goes, are you serious? I go, Absolutely. How many times do you remember, playing pickup ball in a field and stepping in dog crap
All
in
the
your
time.
shoe and your bare foot? I mean, come on, man. We drank out
Happens
of
to
water
me.
hoses.
Happens to me all the time now because the neighbors have a dog, and so my dog goes over to the neighbor's house in the morning. Sits at the door until they let their dog out, and then their dog comes over and shits in my yard. And I don't remember. I was planting apple trees or something a few weeks ago, and I'm like, "Why is there dog shit?" And I was like, "Oh, never mind. Phoebe's shit in the yard
There you go.
here all the
Yeah.
time."
Yeah.
And I just stepped in some of it. Awesome. So
Yep. Well, we
Yep.
lived, and you got kicked out of the house. Remember, the cartoons were over on Saturday morning, and they're like,
Yep.
"Go outside and don't come home until the street lights come on." And like you said, we got on our BMX bikes, or if you were fortunate enough and you had gas for your motorcycle, you were gone, man.
Yep.
Hey, do you remember siphoning gas out of the lawnmower to put gas in your motorcycle?
Well, see, I wasn't allowed to have motorcycles till I was 18, so I didn't have to do
Okay.
that. But we had bicycles, we had street hockey, we had skateboards, we had rollerblades. We did that all day, every day, as much as we possibly could. I had my original house that my parents had when I was younger, up until the point I was like 15, was on a private drive, and there was a lot across the street that my parents actually bought. And because my dad does concrete work, we poured a giant concrete slab over there, so we had roller hockey and a skate park and everything set up on there, so we could do all of it all the time.
You were the cool kid in the neighborhood. Holy cow!
Yeah, we were. They were all there. My mom, because my mom was the stay-at-home mom, so she could feed everybody all the time.
Yep.
So yeah, of us in the neighborhood there on the private drive, yes, we were at my house most of the time. So
You remember how pissed off we used to get when we were whistled to and had to come indoors?
oh man, I didn't even have a whistle. I had a specific time that I had to be home, and I had to know and be like either at my friend's house, knowing, okay, cool, that's the time I gotta go home now. But like I said,
Exactly.
most of the time it didn't even bother me because I was at home already. So like because
Sure.
we hung out there all the time. So like I didn't have a ton of that. There was
You went across the street.
yeah, there was only a couple of times that I didn't come home, and I got my dick kicked in for not being home when I was supposed to, and where the hell was I type deal. So
Oh yeah. No.
so yeah.
I just think of these kids that they're petrified of the sun, like they're vampires or something. And I'm like, I remember just having an absolute meltdown because I had to come inside
Yep.
versus, I mean, I nobody wanted to be indoors, and I don't know. It's just I know I sound like an old man, but it's just like it's just crazy how different things are now. And I love listening to all these guys' stories, and goes back like we were saying,
Yeah, no,
whether it's Jalik's one.
my kid's exactly like that. She is the outdoor kid. Yesterday was the first time. So we really haven't had video games in the house that much. We had a Nintendo Switch, and she's played it, but it's not been like a huge thing. Well, she's recently gotten into Xbox, right? The
Yeah.
in-laws got her an Xbox because they got one, and so she's been playing that, and her cousin is really big into gaming, so they've been playing a little bit. Yesterday was like one of the first days ever, and I was busy working on motorcycles, trying to get her bike together and other stuff, and Mom was busy canning strawberry stuff. So she played on that Xbox like all day. And it was like a gorgeous day yesterday, right? But it was like, look, man, me and Mom have stuff to do. Like, if this is what you really want to do, like, fine. We didn't argue it. At one point, I did drag her out of there, and we went on a bike ride. We did like a 4-mile bike ride because I like looked at Ashley and I was like, look, we got to get her out of the house, otherwise she's never gonna go to bed because all she's doing is sitting all day. But like that's like such a rarity, right? Because with her, it's like she has motorcycles, and I bought these little electric dirt bikes that her and the neighbor kid are on constantly, and they're driving the neighbor kid's golf cart around, and they're in the pool, and they're this and they're that. Like she is the outdoor kid. We have so many friends that like their kids do stuff outdoors, but it's nothing to the effect of ours. And like ours is just total opposite. Ours is like, dude, I'll be outside, I'll do this, I'll do that, exploring the woods, whatever. So yeah, it's really interesting to watch. In fact, the neighbors have even said, like, me and the dad are pretty good buddies, and he's like, we're so thankful that you guys are neighbors because she makes him come out of the basement because he's like a genius or whatever. Kid's super smart. He's like a year older or something than my daughter, and like she drags him out of the basement essentially, like, hey, you want to hang out? And he's like, yep. And then boom, they're just going, having a great time. So it's quite awesome. I've got to get the pile of sand going and stuff like I had back in the day, because my dad worked in construction. We always had a pile of sand with the dirt bikes and the Tonka trucks and all that crap to play in all the time.
Exactly.
So like that's my next thing here. I mean, we've got the pool, we've got the yard. You haven't been here. I live down the street now from my parents' house on 9.5 acres. I semi-inherited my grandmother's house last year when she passed away. So,
is your shop at your mom and dad's still, or
yes.
your new house?
Nope.
Okay.
Still at mom and dad's.
Cool.
One thing I've learned over the years here, and I will continue to do, is the separation of church and state. I had this wild idea in my head in high school of like, I'm gonna have the shop at my house. Back then it was hot rods. Now obviously it's powder coating and stuff.
Sure.
But then having it all in the same spot, I learned all the downfalls to that. For example, the motorcycle sitting behind me that's been sitting on the stand for 3.5 years with all the parts to put it together that I haven't done, because when I walk in here outside of doing the show, it's like, all I see is my work, and I might as well do my work instead of, like, I might as well make some money instead of spending money to work on my own shit. I'm keeping it separate, which is why right now my garage is full of motorcycles that I'm working on. Like I said, I just got the kids' bike redone yesterday. I have a whole bunch of parts for my Grom that I need to do. I have chain and sprocket and tires and stuff for my big bike that I need to do. It's only June, right? It's only middle of June. I may ride this year. We'll see. You never know.
Good for you, man. Good. Good.
So that's my current situation. That's what I'll do going forward, is I will keep church and state separate. I will go to work and I will come home from work. And that's what I'll do. So it's great.
Good job. Well, I'm proud of your progress. You've done it. You've come a long way. A lot of hard work. Everybody sees the output. People don't see the input. And again, congratulations to you and Justin and part-time Cole. You guys have done a really good job. So,
well, thanks. I appreciate it. I apprate you staying on as long as you have here, because I told you 30 minutes and I knew we would talk for way longer than that, but here we are at like 2 hours.
No worries, man. I just want to thank all the members for staying with us live. I want to thank everybody who listens to this. Again, congratulations to you three boys. You're killing it. I think the sport needs kind of this authentic conversation. And like you said, people are entitled to their opinions. And I think you guys do a great job of letting people disagree. Mm-hmm. But it's still a community where, hey, you can say I'm an effing idiot. And that's cool, dude. I still love you. High five, knuckle punch. Let's go get a beer. But it doesn't have to be I'm right, you're wrong. And, it's just like the way you and Justin banter. I've told you before, Justin's almanac of a brain relevant to motocross is second to nothing I've ever seen before. If you said who won the second moto at Unadilla in '84, I'm telling you, Justin could tell you who. I've never seen a memory. When I say an almanac, I mean it's like something I've never seen. But I just appreciate all the listeners for sticking with you guys. And again, props to you three for letting people say things that may not be cool. You don't ostracize them. Things that people doubted that you said that wasn't true came to fruition. And that's how you build credibility, is just keep doing what you guys are doing. So props to all three of you guys. Seriously, it's good stuff. And again, thanks for all the members that you guys have. And for anybody who goes back and watch this show, thank you so much for sticking with us. Always enjoy it.
Well, we appreciate you being on board here with us with Complete Racing Solutions. And we'll definitely have you on again, Coach. I try to do the call-in thing. The worst part for me is scheduling the call-ins all the time. Between that and trying to talk about the racing and stuff, it turns into, it's a big thing. And as I was telling everybody before we started, the reason we're doing a show tonight that is strictly call-in people is because I've been so busy in the shop. I didn't have time. I tried to pull a couple last-second friend favors to get people into the studio here. They all were busy. Obviously, it's Father's Day, whatever. And I was like, crap, screw it. I'll see who I can get on the phone. That was the route I went. So we appreciate you taking the time.
I'm gonna blow you out that you're lying through your tail end. You told me you couldn't get the private jet down here in time to pick me up to bring me live in the studio, and that's why you said we have to do this on on cell phones. So I'm going to call you out in front of everybody.
Here
The
we
private
go.
jet was preoccupied.
Here we go.
You know, you're already forgetting about your little friends out here. So
Coach, I'm not selling
no.
enough knives for that yet. We're working on it, but we're not there yet. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
And trust me,
Well,
as
you guys
soon
keep
as
up.
I can get that, we are flying a PJ to Florida. Don't you worry about it.
There you go. Exactly. Nope. And we'll pick up as many members as we can along the way. But yeah, thanks so much for having me. Always enjoy it. And if I could be of help to anybody, please reach out.
Cool. Thanks, Coach. We'll talk to you later,
Talk
bud.
soon, bud.
Yeah,
Peace.
bye. Coach Robb, everybody. What a fucking legend there. That guy has been with us for years and years. I cannot thank him enough for his support, his continued contribution through Complete Racing Solutions, and just a hell of a stand-up guy in all manners there. So if you guys do need anything nutrition or fitness-wise, make sure to check out CompleteRacingSolutions.com. And with that, what I thought might be a slightly shorter show has still turned into, I don't know, 3 effing hours here of show. So I want to thank all the members that have been with us here. I've seen a whole bunch of people on there. Tim, Ralph, VG, Sykes. I mean, everybody who was in the earlier chat there. Jeffrey, Steve. I want to thank all of you guys for joining us. I want to thank everybody who's watching the replay here. Again, not a normal show. We had Daniel Blair on first, Coach Robb on second. We kind of went all over the place and talking about a whole bunch of stuff. So hopefully this was okay. And hopefully you guys liked it. If you did, make sure to comment down below. I want to thank all of our sponsors again. Show brought to you by Rev X Products. And make sure to pick up some max power for your bikes here this summer. All your single cylinder 4-stroke motors. That is the answer right there. Want to thank let me turn that off. Let me turn the sponsor banner back on. There we go. Okay. I want to thank Complete Racing Solutions. Want to thank Holster Co. Even though I didn't rant tonight at anything really very much, still want to thank Holster Co. for coming on board. Flo Racing, Gutter Worx, NANO XTREME, Adept Creative Co., Alias MX. Make sure to check out all of them. There's links in the description down below. Discount codes for some of them. And they're all there to help you guys out. And if you use them, that helps us out. So with that being said, this has been show 310. We kind of wrapped up some Highpoint stuff, and we talked a whole lot of other bench racing stuff. Thank you all for joining us. We're off next week. We will be back in 2 weeks with Southwick. So with that being said, see y'all later. Thanks for tuning into the Moto Aftermath Show. If you guys like the show, make sure to give us a thumbs up there with that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification so you never miss a show update, a live show, or anything that we're doing here, because when we find out news, we will be on here bringing you our thoughts with it. Also, if you guys want to help support the show, join our members area. You'll get member exclusives, including live shows. You get to watch the show being recorded live, and you'll get all sorts of other member benefits. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Join the members area, subscribe. We'll see you all on the next one.